All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Thank you all. I am overwhelmed. I'm humbled and overwhelmed by your recorded applause. Thank you. It is great to be here on a Friday. We have news from Donald Trump land, from the courts in America as they still exist. We'll share that with you. Kim is here as well.
Kim, how are you?
I do have Albert on board, who's
Albert,
put
thank
together a terrific Friday Fabulous Florida. Also, I'll mention we will give you the very latest on the Southern California fires. As you know, they affect us directly. I am in the path of fires here in Southern California, and Michael Snider, the culture blaster, is someone who was without power, I think, for the last couple of days. So he himself has navigated this list of obstacles associated with the fires to go to screenings and to provide us with the latest on movies and all the rest. So that's really, it speaks to his dedication. I also have a job, which is to set the record straight on what actually happened with the fires in Southern California. The reason there wasn't water in the hydrants and all, it wasn't the libs, it wasn't the lefties, it wasn't the governor. We'll get to all of that today. And in addition to that, I have a follow-up on something I was talking about yesterday. But before we get to anything more, I did want to recognize some last-minute. They came in so late that we couldn't get them on the air, but we always love to, since we're crowd-funded, recognize those in the crowd who do give us a little funding. And this is Jane O., who not only provided us with a $10 super chat, but she said, "Thanks for the show. Glad to hear that you and Courtney and the cats are safe." That's so sweet. It has been a very tough series of sleepless nights here in Southern California, and it continues to be. I mean, we're right on the edge of our seats. As you know, we lost our home to fire 5 years ago, and as the winds kick up at all, we just become so anxious. I mean, there's a palpable anxiety about everything. Palpable is a ding word. And I would, I know I would extend to everyone who is in California generally my empathy, because I know that these are very, very tough times. And the other thing Jane O did with a second super chat was reach out to Kim. And she says, "Nice to have you back, Kim. Condolences to you and your family." So that's really quite lovely. So thank you for that. Thank you for recognizing some of the challenges that we face to bring you this show every day. And just heard the incoming president is for sure a convicted felon, says Noe Marie Clarity. And she says, "Don't know if you heard about it." But yes, we did. And it is true. Donald Trump has been, look, he's a convicted felon. We knew that, right? It was just a question of sentencing, wasn't it? No, he's the attorney, but I mean, I think that was it.
She's just letting us, she just wants to trumpet that from the rooftop.
It's a victory lap that Noe's taking. Yeah. It's a, so I know that there's.
You have someone that's able to squirrel their way out of every single consequence to at least have one thing stick. One measly thing. He's not going to prison. He doesn't have to pay a fine. Doesn't even have to go on probation. But he's a felon. He's a felon. Convicted felon. That's all. That's all we're going to get.
I know. And I'm glad that, and I think that is a decent way to frame it, which is that he's sort of squirreled, squirmed, is the word I wanted to, squirmed his way out of so much. But as you know, I'm historically significant. Who said that? Adam. I agree with that. It's just that I don't feel, in terms of reputational harm, and maybe you could say nothing will be harmful to him from a reputational standpoint because he's just so Teflon, and his crew that will follow him up any mountain will follow him no matter what. But elect a felon, get more criminals, and he is picking his misfit administration to tell hardworking Americans how to follow the law. Only in America, Marcia says. Yeah, the thing I was just going to say to follow through is, of all of the things he is truly guilty of, many of which he'll never be tried for. There's kind of open corruption. There are all kinds of ways he's muddied himself, from charging the Secret Service in various ways at different properties he had no intention of visiting. But you know that, he said, I might go to Scotland this weekend. This is during the time he was president. Even during the time he had left the presidency, because he still had Secret Service protection, the Secret Service has to buy up rooms in all of these places to which he may arrive. And in so doing, they're moneying his pockets, and he gives the government no break. He doesn't give them a discount. So anyway, that's small stuff like that, and then there are bigger instances of it as well. But my point is jacking the documents, as you know, to Mar-a-Lago, hiding them after the archivists wanted them, saying they were all back when they weren't, putting them in insecure places like bathrooms, ballrooms, bedrooms, etc. These are all things that he should have been tried for, and he won't be. He should be a felon for those things, okay? But I put even above that, engineering a coup.
Thank you.
On the United States of America. Yeah. He engineered a coup. There is no question about this. Concocted a fake electors scheme. These are things contained in the documents, I'm sure, that Jack Smith has compiled for his final report. I'm hoping we see that. But again, Merrick Garland slow-walked everything. Trump was able to delay everything. His hand-picked Supreme Court was able to protect everything. And so we end up where we are, where we go, look, he's a convicted felon for this, what is going to be played off as a bookkeeping error.
Yeah, Delwood says, false felony. No other person would have been prosecuted for that particular
the
crime.
Delwoods of the world who are getting their MAGA caps ready every morning with their cup of MAGA coffee and their MAGA sneakers. The Delwoods of the world will always be able to say that. So those things to which I've just referred, the coup, the jacking of documents, the ripping off of the American taxpayer, those are things that he gets away with scot-free. Is Trump on Friday Fabulous Florida today? That would have been a great idea. Says, was that M. Oak? Yeah. Tammy, what's that, Albert?
You'd be there every Friday if that were the case.
Yeah, that's true. Albert is the curator of Friday Fabulous Florida. Tammy says they can't do anything if he were to violate a condition, free to do whatever because he won the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In fact, that may be the point when it comes to him being convicted of a felony, because there are certain things that are associated with your conviction that you have to adhere to, certain things you can't do, but they're superseded by what? By his presidential immunity, of course. So hopefully the MAGA crowd will be more sympathetic to other felons that need work, John says. Yeah, indeed. It's a pretty wild time that we live in, and I wish I meant wild in a potentially good way. I don't know. Does him being a convicted felon affect his liquor licenses, his country clubs, says Cecilia Rhodes? Great question, and that's one of the things I love about this audience. There's sort of layered issues. The answer would be no, because those entities exist independent of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. So the liquor licenses, et cetera, are granted to these entities. They're not granted to Trump personally. So I think that's kind of the way that would shake out. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right. I also have to get to, as long, this is not really in the order I wanted to do it, but as long as I'm on the court, can I just mention TikTok? I think the Supreme Court, from everything I'm seeing, is poised to uphold the elimination of TikTok in this country. But again, as I've told you before, I do not think that will happen. I don't think TikTok will go away. I think what will happen is a forced sale of TikTok. The Supreme Court has fast-tracked this TikTok case. It usually takes the Supreme Court about 3 months after an argument to issue a decision, but its biggest rulings sometimes get fast-tracked, and this is one of them. They heard the case today. TikTok facing a January 19th deadline. That's one of the reasons that it's being fast-tracked. This federal law would require it to be sold or effectively banned in the United States, and the justices are very likely issuing a ruling on this before that January 19th deadline. So the TikTok people filed an emergency application last month and asked the court to block this law, which would force its sale, pending further review. That's from the actual petition. The court did not act on that request when it agreed to hear the argument. They said instead it was deferring on that pending oral argument. It's possible then that the justices rule first on the interim question of whether to put the law on hold while they consider it constitutionally. If they deny the request for a temporary pause, TikTok's going to be in trouble, apparently. The court could also skip that. They could rule on the law's constitutionality. You know, TikTok argued First Amendment, etc. So if the justices follow their usual practices, as noted here, they will meet soon to cast tentative votes at a private conference. The senior justice in the majority will then assign the majority opinion to a colleague, or just as likely, they'll keep it. Draft opinions, possibly including concurrences and dissents, concurrences is a ding word, will be prepared and exchanged. This will all happen at a brisk pace, they're noting here, given the complexity of the legal issues and the stakes involved. Russia has fined TikTok for not removing prohibited content. Albania banned TikTok for a year. I mean, there's precedent worldwide for essentially slapping back on TikTok. But in this country, my prediction, and again, I mean, you know, we have lawyers on board and we have those pundits, and we can even ask Michael Shure, but I'd say TikTok, as I told you before, it's not going away. It's too powerful a vehicle for the important people in this world of America, and the important people aren't you and me. The important people aren't the average American. The important people aren't Delwood Kelp and all of his MAGA buddies. No, the important people are rich people, corporate entities, businesses, the billionaires who inhabit the incoming administration. And guess what? They want TikTok. They can use TikTok. Donald Trump himself wants TikTok. He said it. TikTok is one of the reasons that he won the election. So what TikTok will be forced to do, I think, is sell the Chinese part of the ownership of TikTok to an American entity. And in so doing, TikTok will be gifted to one of these billionaire buddies of Trump. And one of these billionaires, and they'll put together a consortium. It will be probably not just one person. Although it could be one person. Jared Kushner has already expressed interest in it, as you know. And they'll get it at a song. They'll get it for a fire sale price, if you'll pardon me using the expression. They will swoop in and get a great deal on TikTok. Why? Because TikTok is selling at gunpoint, and that gun was pointed by the Supreme Court. So this is one worth watching, and they are fast-tracking this decision. I don't think they'll sell it to Elon. Osborne is suggesting that, but possible. I mean, anything's possible. Elon's got, you know, a lot of power. Who would have thought that Meta, in the form of Mark Zuckerberg, would have been allowed to own Facebook, the dominant social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, yeah.
It's a, you know, these are monopolistic tendencies and acquisitional tendencies that all of these companies have, and they're being permitted, especially now, as the regulations, I call them protections, they're called regulations, regulatory agencies are being dismantled. And of course, under the new administration, they will just go away. So it's possible even a Zuckerberg could get, they're all positioning for it. I love the tracksuit look, says D. Elliott. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Little something I just threw on. Very, very, very good. Thank you.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you for someone noticing. Yes.
Came in from a little spin around the block there.
Yes, there's smoke in the air, so I've been cutting back on my workout, so I like to just look like I'm working out. I drink Mark Thompson coffee, and my Mark Thompson coffee mug says Brian Cassidy. Come on, Brian. That's the kind of loyalty I like. You can get Lucy McAllister, my favorite McAllister, a big shout out for a $19.99, $20 super sticker.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Wow, that's great. My favorite McAllister, Lucy. She's been very active lately, Kim, which I really do appreciate. I am drinking my, no. My Coachella Valley, where's my Coachella Valley coffee music? Oh, thank
There
you.
you go. My taste. Yep.
My Coachella Valley coffee. In the new Mark Thompson coffee mugs, they are white. The original coffee mugs, if you have them, they are collector's items. They are black. You can see some of them behind me. But the new ones for 2025, they are white. And they have some of the key phrases from the show. Like this one is, we could try ignoring it, sir, which is one of my favorites.
We could try ignoring it, sir.
Yeah, exactly. So once again, I encourage you to... the magic of Coachella Valley Coffee. Oof. They are our great sponsor, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. You can go there and get a 10% discount with the use of our discount code MARKT. It is the best coffee and tea on earth. Trevor Starr in Hollywood says, my daughter is so amazing. She was so moved by the fires. She and I went to Costco and loaded up a flatbed cart and took it to a collection site and then helped them unload other donations for a few hours. Wow.
Nice. Yeah.
That is extraordinary. Really. That is, thank you for
Big
the
shout out.
super chat. That is just extraordinary. It really does bring out the best in people, some of these tough times. Candace Worthman, she's also an OG, one of the early members of supporters of the show, and she sends us a $19.99, $20 super chat saying,
out.
Thank you all. Thank you, Candace, for all of your support, both financial and just moral support. You know, it really matters. I get emails, and I'll share some along the way here. We've been kind of, we get behind right away because some of these stories deserve some build out, and it takes time to do that. But I'd like to share some emails. I get them, and they really do lift my spirits. You know, we're sleepless here, we're worried, and yet we still have a show to do, and I try to be dedicated to this show, and as does Kim and Albert and Tony. And in so doing, we, you know, you can get pretty wound out. And so when you get some of these emails or comments even here that suggest that people are with us and appreciate the show, it really matters. So thank you for everybody who's, even if you haven't provided financial support, you provided emotional support. I mean, a real, is that the official Mark Thompson Show tracksuit, and where can I buy it? We should have a tracksuit. We really should. We should have something. We're actually, Courtney, I'll tell you this inside baseball kind of thing. Courtney is handling the merch thing.
Yeah.
We're already thinking about changing merch companies.
Oh,
so,
you weren't happy with this one?
Well, I love the mugs and I love the logos, which Courtney did, but I don't love the fact that it says "Made in China" at the bottom of it.
Oh. Mark Thompson Show coffee mugs and TikTok, all made in China.
Yeah, I mean, not the bad things are made in China. I think if you look around your house, most of the stuff there probably has some Chinese component, but we don't love that, and so but that would make these super collectible items because they'll only be on our site for whatever it is, 5 months or something before we change it. So I encourage you to pick it up. GetMarkMerch.com is where you can find the mugs and T-shirts and stuff like that. But that's just kind of a little inside baseball thing. I'll tell you something just on that, though, just a little digression. Here it is, GetMarkMerch.com. When Conan O'Brien took over The Tonight Show, this is something for you older boys and girls who remember this. Do you know who Conan O'Brien is, Albert? Does that mean anything to you, or are you... does that also. Yesterday we found out that he didn't know Three Men and a Baby, and we realized that Three Men and a Baby, the movie, was in the 80s. Of course, Albert wasn't born until when were you born? 1991 or something? When were you born?
Yes, I'm actually a huge Conan fan. I grew up watching Conan, so
okay,
he's
so
my
that's
guy.
cool.
That's why
all right.
During that Tonight Show is a dark time for me to bring up. So
yeah,
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, he was supposed to take over the Tonight Show from Jay Leno, and Conan did take over the Tonight Show for like 5 or 6 months, and so then the Tonight Show was taken back from him. They brought Leno back. Isn't that what happened? Anyway, but during the 5 or 6 months that he was on the Tonight Show, they put out merch, The Tonight Show starring Conan O'Brien. And when they announced that Conan would be yanked off the show and they'd be putting Leno on or whatever, I went to the NBC merch site and I bought up a bunch of stuff that said The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. I just felt like that's sort of a collector's item, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And so I have these hats and stuff that say The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. It was only a 5 or 6 month period that he hosted it, but I've got that merch. So in that same spirit, these coffee mugs and the T-shirts that are coming from this merch site, if we change merch sites, they will become a little bit of, again, it's within our little world, but collector's items because we'll have moved on to a different merch site, just like the black mugs are now collector's items because we've gone to white mugs. Supposedly there's a ghost in one of the scenes of Three Men and a Baby.
Who knew?
Thank you, Parmenio, for that comment. Let me get back to some news, but thank you for letting us digress on this Friday.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I see that Osborne, who I think is in, where is he again? Is it Norway?
Norway? Yeah.
Yeah. Great news from Facebook. Zuckerberg got the world's first successful, oh, jeez. I'm not going to read that. I'll change it to rat. Can you change it, Kim? We'll change it, and I don't. It's tough for me to say the P word, as you know.
Rat body part.
Body, yeah. His private part. Yeah. World's first successful rat private part transplant today. Must be true. Facebook is all facts. Yeah, they got rid of. We told you that story. I think a couple days ago. They've gotten rid of the fact checkers at Facebook. And who needs fact checkers when everything is all accurate these days on social media? Shout out to Tim Conway Jr., says Luis, for his extraordinary coverage of the fires. Such useful info and dedication. Think Timmy was on like 10 hours on the first day. Yeah. So true, Luis. Big shout out and big shout out to Conway, too. Conway really did step up in such a big way here in Southern California on KFI radio. Tim, as you know, is like a family member to me. I love him, and I love the work he did, and he really did distinguish himself. He's funny, and he's smart, and he's like a jazz pianist. You just put him in front of the mic, and whatever's going on, he'll turn it into something. But we don't agree on everything, Conway and myself, but we agree on, I think, our fondness for each other. And I would certainly agree with Luis that Conway was extraordinary in his coverage of the fires, and all the Conway kids, Sharon Bellio and Michael Crozier and everybody over at KFI Radio. So nice job they're doing. Mark, how is your friend Kevin Pollak doing? My favorite actor, says Karen D. Wow. This is like a world of digression today. But I'll answer the question. Kevin's great. I just saw him a couple of nights ago, actually, for just a brief instant, because we're in the middle of, scrambling through evacuations and everything. But Kevin is a delight and doing well, and we'll have him come visit the show. For Karen. It'll be especially for Karen.
Were you guys, because we haven't really heard, we know that you're struggling there and that you're watching the fires, but we haven't heard a lot about your personal experience over the last couple of days. Are you still watching all of the fires, every few minutes, checking on your phone to make sure where they are? How did this
That's all we're
for
doing.
you? And,
That's all we're doing. I mean, it sounds like an exaggeration. That's all I'm doing all the time. I mean, the only thing I'm doing apart from that is diving into some news to try to populate this show with stuff I think we should talk about. But all I'm doing is watching local news broadcasts and watching all the official fire sites. And when a local newscast goes to an area that I kind of know about already, I go to a different local newscast. And when I'm going there, they have something going on, then I go to a different one. It's absolutely constant all the time. And it's frankly unsustainable. I can't sustain this level of fear and readiness for days on days. And I'm grateful that today appears to be a more relaxed day, at least in terms of wind. I mean, really the wind events are the ones we fear the most. Even as everything is tinder dry, the reality is that the wind is the thing that we fear the most. It is, our thoughts are with you, California. Much love from Spain, says Michael Barron. I think he just says probably Michael Barron, but I like to say Michael Barron because it suena más, what would I say, romantico. It sounds more romantic. Yeah, it's true. Phineas says, drinking coffee and watching the phone. Mark needs some TLC. He's tweaking. You're right. I think I am tweaking a little bit. So I'll tell you one thing, and then I do want to get something, and we'll get into the wildfires a little bit. Sending love and prayers to Southern California. Thank you, Eric. Last night, we are at wit's end, and Courtney said, do you want to watch something? Should we watch a show or something, or a movie? We're going to watch The Apprentice, and we're going to watch... Then I thought even we'll watch an old Seinfeld episode, something to make us laugh. And I said, I just don't think I can. I just need to stay up on where the fires are and what's happening. You know, I mean, not because I need to from a news standpoint. I'm just too angst up to be able to sit back and watch anything else that's not related to the information. So late last night, and we're just spent. And we've rehearsed the evacuation over. We rehearsed it twice. We're going to rehearse it 3 more times today. You know, because you have to rehearse getting the cats, and you have them in a certain order to put them into the carriers. We don't actually pick them up and put them in the carriers, but we put the carriers. So I have the car set up so it can accommodate all the different carriers. We have 4 cats, and they're old. And it's stressful, right? I mean, it's insanely stressful.
Oh, plus, you probably have to plan out your route, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's funny. We now have a fallback. Our neighbors have taken a huge load off our minds because before we were having to book hotel rooms and going to a hotel. And now our neighbors down the hill in the flats have stepped up and said, hey, you can use our place if you need it. And that, I mean, meaning we have an extra room for you. So it wouldn't be, optimal. In a sense that, you're not going to be able to put all these animals in different places. But in another way, it is super optimal because it is close and you've got it. I mean, you can count on it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel or get an Airbnb or hotels, which are all sold out, should the moment come. So anyway, last night, we sat down and I said to her, okay, let's try something. And we go to Netflix and we see this series called, I think it's called The Perfect Couple. And I said, well, I said, I've seen this.
Google it.
Yeah, I think it's called
the Nicole Kidman one with the dance
Nicole
at the beginning?
Kidman, right, with Leo Schreiber. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of voiceover stuff, the auditions that say the Leo Schreiber type. He gets tons of voiceover work. So I know, so when I see Leo Schreiber, I automatically think of all the jobs I don't get. Mm-hmm. But I said, how about this? And she's seen it. Courtney's already seen it. She said, I'd love to see it again. Let's watch it. And so we did, and we started it. And it was remarkable because it took me out of the fear for a minute. Yeah. And I checked the phone occasionally through it, but it's really good. And so we're kind of watching that. So in answer to the question, we were able to get out of it. And I think we're going to watch some more of it today. Asley Petrus, coolest name. I'm into names. Very, very cool name. Thank you for all you do and the wonderful information that we get from the show, says Asley. Don't say much usually, but I'm an old, faithful KGO listener. So sorry for all the people in Southern California. It breaks my heart. Wow, she throws $50 in with her super chat.
Big shout out.
I appreciate that so much.
Thank you so much.
I really do. Appreciate everybody. You've been really, really supportive. And Asley, that's extraordinarily generous. And I thank you. All right, I want to...
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'd planned to take on a couple of rumors and BS things that are floated out there about the fires. But let's get a quick update on the fires. Albert, do you have the update on what's going on with... this is an ABC News report with who's that, Matt Gutman. Let's go to that and just get a quick sense of things. Then I have some thoughts about what the water, what's to blame, in Newsom, the mayor, etc. There's a lot of BS out there, and I'd love to set the record straight on a few things, which I'll do in a second. Go ahead, Albert, please.
Hey, good morning, George. You know, we've seen these new numbers come in, 10,000 structures destroyed, but the only way you can actually get a sense of the actual scale
is he
is to
floating,
drive through
Albert?
this.
Is
We
he
are
floating fast? If those who are
sunset.
watching, you see him floating. If you're just listening, he's speaking, and he's illuminated in the foreground. He's wearing that ABC News slicker that's become so controversial with David Muir.
It's very fitted as well on him.
It's very fitted on him. David Muir wearing the same slicker, but it was clothes pinned in so it would look more fitted. I'm like the only guy who's on David Muir's side saying that it should be. There's nothing wrong with clothes pinning. I get in a big argument with Courtney about that because she said, "What are you talking about? He's so vain." I said, "Well, he may be vain. I don't know, but that's not what it's about. It's about TV. You know, you set up a shot. You set up a shot in front of destruction. You set up a visual to bring home what's happening. He's the anchor. You put him 6 feet from the camera because that's the best distance. And if his hair is like in his face or whatever, you say, hey, brush back your hair. It looks a little too messy." And these are all things that are cosmetic. I understand, but they're also presentational. He doesn't want so he's wearing the slicker, the ABC News slicker, David Muir, and it's baggy. And they're going, oh, geez, Muir's got, must have gotten the wrong size slicker. Is there anything we can do? Tape it or pin it or something?
No,
and
the problem is he got the right size slicker. He should have ordered it 2 sizes too small, to emphasize the guns and the pecs.
No, I mean, I think that's really unfair. So I'm not some David Muir fanboy, but I just completely understand how, and Kim and I can both tell you stories where we do amazing stuff, like an incredible report. Kim told me a story about how she did this remarkable traffic report, and it was on television, and she gets it.
KTVU, yeah.
KTVU.
I mean,
tell everybody. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was filling in for a guy named Sal Castaneda, and I managed to break all kinds of news. Like I broke a fire. It was this traffic report, which in the scheme of things maybe isn't that important. It does not that long, right? But it was chock full of breaking news and good stuff. And I conclude the report, and that they had this little phone in the studio, and it rang, a hotline rang, and I answer, and I think they're gonna say, "Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much for all that, breaking news." And she said, "Would you mind putting one side of your hair behind you?" Well, that's all.
No comment on how good a job you did. I love
She
that.
said, it kind of looks like you're sitting for a portrait. So we just want your one side of your hair behind you.
I'm telling you.
Oh,
It's a
that's
superficial medium. That's the first thing people do. They even on this, which is a far more guerrilla kind of medium, people go, Mark, can you not wear that T-shirt again, or can you? I mean, it's crazy, despite what we've done. So I understand Muir, and it's not even necessarily his idea. It might have been somebody else going, hey, Muir's looking too baggy. They might have said it from New York. They're going, can somebody just pin David's jacket back or something? It's looking too, Right. So I give him a lot of running room on this. Anyway,
I do too. And I understand there's a difference in the medium, but that's when I knew radio was my thing, because I want it to be about substance and not about the superficial.
Yeah, I mean, I think radio and I love radio. It's my first love, but I think radio and television both have a superficial quality. But anyway, let's go. This back to Matt. This is Matt Gutman. Looks like he's floating in past all of these images. He could be. He's so floating. For those just listening, you cannot see how he's passing by all these images. He could be in a studio in New York, and these could be green screen behind him. I mean, it looks like that. I mean, again, these are all presentational things. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to bring you a lot of the images of destruction. And the way to do that is actually move down the street, and he's doing that. Obviously, I don't know if he's in an open kind of. What is that, Albert? Is that, you think he's in some kind of?
Albert said earlier, it looks like he's on a magic carpet or a skateboard.
It does look like one of those.
Yeah, someone's dragging him. He's standing on a skateboard or something.
Yeah.
Someone's pulling him over.
Anyway, all right. I won't interrupt again. Here we go.
Boulevard, we have 2 cameras showing you the debris and the destruction on either side. It is hard to fathom until you see the little archways of these homes, the toys that are melted on the side of these driveways. And on Sunset Boulevard, this kind of destruction goes on for block after block for miles in that direction.
This morning, those new harrowing images revealing the scale of the damage in Los Angeles.
I don't know how we're going to come back from this. I don't even know where to start.
More than 10,000 structures destroyed, and overnight the number of fatalities jumping to 10.
Pacific Palisades right now could just be taken off the map. There is no Pacific Palisades.
But trickling back into this hellscape were families hoping to salvage an heirloom or a memento. In the rubble of a condo building in Pacific Palisades, we meet Gail and Mario.
Is this your safe?
It is. I wanted to get to it before the looters got to it.
Gail fled with just her nurse scrubs, a phone, and little else.
The documents, passport, things like that
Nothing.
are somewhere here.
Yeah. Everything.
The widow hoping her wedding ring had survived this inferno.
Wow.
Mario pushed the safe off the building, then cracked it open.
These your rings?
Yeah, my wedding ring. My wedding ring.
At least 20 people have been arrested for looting. Susan Cambick, Tracy, and Madeline Dam among the dozens who walked here in the hopes of being escorted back to their homes.
It's almost like at this stage of my life, when I thought I was at the end of the marathon, I'm at the beginning of a new marathon, and we have to create everything from scratch.
They got the call, jumped in the car, off they went. Just a few minutes later,
it's apocalyptic. It's like someone's dropped a bomb. There's cars burnt out. There's ash everywhere. We weren't thinking it was going to be bad, but I think we both had no idea how bad it was.
So we're still on Sunset Boulevard, and one of the few buildings that remains intact here, I'm going to have our cameraman Juan point to it over there, is Fire Station 69. And just ahead here is the central business district of Pacific Palisades, a place that is completely gutted. Now, fire officials say that they're going to be here for weeks, putting out hotspots. They're not sure when people will be able to go back to their homes. And the LAPD is telling me that they're going to start having to pick through this debris and the neighborhoods behind it because they believe there are still more fatalities here.
That's just chilling. It's chilling. Thank you, Albert. Yeah, he's in a pickup truck. Many people are saying that.
I've never seen that style of report, though, before. I've never seen a reporter do that.
I mean, it was inventive, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was creative. There is a lot of talk about the component of arson that might very much be a part of these things. And apparently a guy who was detained by people who saw him near the Calabasas and West Hills area, which was a fire that broke out late yesterday. This guy is not accused of starting the fire, apparently. They responded to this, again, a call from citizens who detained this guy at 4:30 yesterday and 4:30 in the afternoon. The caller said that a man was attempting to light a fire, and residents who spotted the suspect held him down until officers arrived. There was social media on all of this. And firefighters from Los Angeles and Ventura counties were trying to contain this fire that, again, residents and passersby thought this guy was involved in. They did knock down that fire after about 1,000 acres were consumed. But they are saying now that they ultimately decided this suspect won't face charges. They decided, and this is a quote, they made the determination that there was not enough probable cause to arrest this person on arson or suspicion of arson. The investigation is ongoing. I want to thank those community members that were involved in bringing this person to our attention, said the chief. So there does appear to be, and there have been, weren't there, Kim, a couple of arrests in this associated. I know that looters were arrested, but I thought that there were a couple of suspected arsonists also arrested.
I saw the story about the Calabasas fire possibly being caused by arson. There were reports of other fires being caused by arson. There's all kinds of stories floating around. This whole thing touched off by someone lighting up a barbecue in the strong Santa Ana winds. I think we kind of have to put a pause on it to find out exactly what really happened. I was interesting.
I think
you
that's
mentioned...
really good advice. That's a good news person speaking, but could you move your hair to one side, please, or the other? Yeah. Okay.
I was looking at though what happens to an arsonist, and I think it depends. That I found this website. Donald Trump might want to know about it. It's called felonies.org, and it lists what the laws are by state. What the
Don't talk
arson
to me
laws
that way.
are by state, and I think it depends for arson on whether the fire that you cause, how much damage it does, and whether it ends in someone's death.
Yes, well, I mean,
So,
if their lives, they will try you for murder if you light a fire that actually kills someone. I think they should be very. I mean, look, this is not a particularly courageous position. I think they should be insanely. I'm tough on law and order, so I'll just with that. Against that backdrop, I will tell you that I think they should be insanely tough on arsonists. They should be insanely tough on looters. Looters, I would say to this: you shouldn't see the light of day for years if you loot an area that has been hit by fire like this, or earthquake, or anything. I mean, after a disaster, if you move in and rip people off, if they catch you with that, bam, you're not seeing the light of day for a long time, baby. No. Get to know your jumpsuit, because that's all you're going to be wearing for years if I'm in charge. So there's that, but then there's now, in the modern age, yet another component of those who are effing with things, and those are those people who are flying illegal drones. And a drone collided with a firefighting aircraft flying over the Palisades fire on Thursday. These are firefighting aircraft that are carrying water to put out these fires that are devastating these regions. And for the first time, we could get the aerial attacks on these fires going. Remember, with the winds, the reason you had no helicopters and aircraft up for so long is because the winds were so ferocious. You finally had some abatement of the wind. And now you have people flying their effing drones up there. So it was a firefighting aircraft that had to be grounded for several days of repairs. And this led to an investigation who was flying the drone against flight restrictions. There are flight restrictions, obviously, against drone aircraft. And the LA County Fire Chief said, "We hit a drone this afternoon. Our super scooper hit a small drone." There are no details on who was flying the drone, but the drone was destroyed, and the super scooper is a massive fixed-wing plane that can drop large amounts of water on these fires. There are not many of them. And to put this one out of commission for days while it's being repaired, it was damaged. It put a hole in the wing. It is grounded.
Usually over fires, aren't there no flight restrictions? There are flight restrictions, so you can't fly whatever, whether it's a drone or whether it's a Cessna, you have to steer clear.
That's right, and that's why I was saying it violated the FAA restrictions.
Right.
There is a super scooper there. And the thought that it's put out of commission by an illegal drone flight, it's disgusting. So again, I would add that to the looters and to others who screw with these systems that are put in place to fight these fires. Now, I want to talk about the water a little bit. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
There is a lot of BS from people like Leo Terrell, the right-wing media sphere. It's all about how the libs in California, with their liberal views and their DEI, that's the reason there was no water in California. The hydrants ran dry. Well, the hydrants did run dry in Pacific Palisades, and here's why. And it's not unrelated to what we just talked about, which is that these fires are increasingly only fought effectively through the air. They're covering such immense distances, and the terrain particularly can be very challenging, so that there aren't really ways in which they can be fought from the ground effectively. So you can't just pull a pumper truck up to a huge conflagration and really make much of an impact. And so you end up with firefighting being done from the air and effectively done from the air. Well, with the winds and the ferocity of the winds, they couldn't get any of that aerial attack going. So all you had was these various fire trucks coming into these areas like the Palisades, and they're all now on the hydrants. Well, the hydrants and the way the hydrants are laid out, they're designed to fight structure fires. You pull up to a house that's on fire, several homes that are on fire, and they can fight that fire effectively from the water in the hydrant. But a huge conflagration of the sort that we've been talking about, and these multiple areas that are affected by fire, they really have to be fought from the air, as I say. And that's not to diminish in any way the hard work that's done by the men and women of the fire department as they handle the fires from the ground. But these fire hydrants, the fire hydrant system, is not designed to be tapped by multiple fire agencies all at one time descending on an area and all jumping on fire hydrants that then are distributing water across all of these different hoses and through all of these different trucks and manpower. It's just not designed that way. And moreover, and I haven't really used the word moreover in many years. I'm going to give it a ding for, I would also say, moreover, the preparation associated with what was coming actually did include thousands of gallons of additional water that was made available for the hydrant system. So the idea somehow, those libs, they're asleep at the switch with the DEI, they're worried about hiring some trans person instead of giving us more. No, right-wingers, you're idiots on this, and you're using it for political purposes, and it's disgusting. When you know or should know that's not true. They've made all of this additional water available, but the system itself is designed for residential and commercial firefighting. It's designed to knock down fires in residence and commercial businesses. It's not designed to handle some wildfire like this. So it's an out-and-out falsehood that there is some political or administrative failing that led to there being no water in the fire hydrants. Here it is, LA officials had filled 3 1-million-gallon tanks to provide as much pressure as possible to feed the hydrants in the Pacific Palisades neighborhoods, but it wasn't enough because demand on the hydrant system was 4 times higher than ever before. The number of fire hoses, this is a quote from the CEO and chief engineer of the LA Department of Water and Power. Quote, the number of fire hoses connected to the fire hydrants depleted the tanks in the area, specifically in the higher elevations. Water failed to reach 200 out of about 1,000 hydrants in the hills of Pacific Palisades. They briefly had to shut down the neighborhood's entire system to try to restore pressure in those hydrants, relying on tanker trucks to supply water to firefighters in the meantime. I had to ask the fire department to stop fighting the fire, and that's a very tough operational decision to make, they said. Hydrants have failed during other fire disasters, you may know, including the 2023 wildfire in Lahaina, Hawaii. We don't design water systems to handle 50 to 100 structures or 1,000 structures catching on fire in 24 hours, said an engineering professor at Purdue University who was asked to comment on this. That would take a massive redesign of the system. So that's the truth about why there was no water. That's the truth about why the hydrants ran dry and failed. It had nothing to do with administrative BS.
And while that's true, I think maybe it is time for a redesign of the system because we're not talking about a one-off anymore. We've seen entire communities go up in flames in Paradise, in Santa Rosa, in Southern California. So maybe it is time to do the San Francisco 1906 earthquake redesign. Remember when they put the cisterns underneath the streets that are still there in San Francisco because there wasn't any water to fight the fires after the big one? Maybe we have to shake things up and do things differently because we have to expect now that flames are going to level whole cities.
Well, I think we can reconfigure things, and I like the idea that we respond to a changing landscape, yes, but I would say this, and I've mentioned this before, but it's really worth noting. once the winds get to 40 miles an hour and exceed that, and of course these winds were 80 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour. I'm talking at sea level, getting 80-mile-an-hour winds. It's extraordinary. This was a massive wind event, and these are wind-driven fires. So once you get a situation like that, you can turn the hose onto that fire. I don't care how much water you have. The water's it's going to get blown back on you. Yeah. The winds are too ferocious. You cannot beat back a fire when it's being driven by winds of in excess of 40 miles an hour. It just cannot be done. Talk to firefighters. They will tell you they are helpless. That doesn't mean that they're not trying and doing things, but essentially they're at that point trying to evacuate people and save what they can. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, I don't care where the cisterns are, I don't care where the water is, and I don't care how much you have. These wind events, ferocious as they are, they stand alone as unbeatable. And so you're really at the mercy of Mother Nature. It's like a hurricane. And these are winds well in excess of hurricane force. So that's what happened on that. And the second thing I would say, and I'm no fan of this mayor, particularly in Los Angeles. So I don't want you to think this comes out of like some sort of knee-jerk defense. But the cutting of the budget, there's a big thing made about the fact that she cut $17.5 million out of the firefighting budget. That money and that budget cut hasn't kicked in yet, dude. So chill out on, well, they look at that. They cut the budget of the fire. I think you can have a conversation about money that's dedicated to the fire department. And I think you can, as I say, you can have a conversation about reconfiguring systems and institutions. But that's a bad bust on the mayor. And again, I don't necessarily think that will, I think they'll revisit that, might be the best way to put it. But it doesn't apply to this particular conflagration. Now, there are bigger questions that go to the governor's office. They relate to monies dedicated, state monies, to CAL FIRE and to firefighting in California. So I do think that these situations that we're dealing with, and this is not over. There's another red flag warning for next week. And we have a little mini kick up of the winds over the weekend, but it'll be next week. These will whip your head around, and I mean politically and administratively. And I think Sacramento may have to revisit this budget for fire. But the reality is, on budget cuts and on water use, there are facts, and then there's the right-wing BS that is being used for political purposes and political gain. So that's the truth of it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't want to get too far behind, and I already have, I know, Albert. Let me just...
Friday Fabulous Florida. Let's get it in.
Yeah, I know. What was I doing? I just wanted to... We could
try ignoring it, sir.
No, I cannot ignore it. All right. They come for the news, but they stay for, I guess what I was trying to, thank you. Yeah, you're right. I wanted to mention that one of the biggest voices of BS around the fire thing, he shows up on Fox, he was on Sean Hannity, and I tore into him yesterday, is Leo Terrell. He's the... Again, he was a former civil rights attorney. He used to have a distinguished career, and now he's a pundit on Fox, and he's an unapologetic Trumpy, and he's just sold his soul on everything. So he shows up just to beat up on libs. Well, it worked. He was planning to be part of the Trump administration, I suspect, and now he will be. Another Fox News alum invited to join the new Trump administration. The president-elect has chosen Leo Terrell for a spot on the DOJ Civil Rights Division. Maybe you have a picture of Leo, Albert. Leo will be serving as senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the Justice Department.
I don't know why that's funny to me.
Trump said Terrell, a civil rights attorney and talk radio host in California, will work closely alongside the head of the Justice Department. And again, the president-elect announcing Terrell as a highly respected civil rights attorney and political analyst. He will be a fantastic advocate for the American people, says Trump about Leo Terrell.
What?
Yeah, there it is. I did want to kind of tie that in since I tried to send this yesterday, but wanted to thank you for going off on Leo Terrell yesterday. I loved it, says Tumbleweed. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, and as I mentioned yesterday, I used to know Leo Terrell well. We'd go to dinner all the time. We'd hang out. I mean, I really liked Leo, and somehow I think he's completely sold out. I mean, literally. I think he saw the money. I just said it, Leo. I think you sold out for the money. I don't know, or the visibility, the fame. You like going to Mar-a-Lago. I don't know what the story is. I know that there's a shimmer to go into the White House. It's big time. And now you're going to serve in the administration. It's big time. But you've really sold your soul, man. And the fact that you could sling the crap you did about these fires when you know it's BS, you must know it's BS. You're smarter than that. And you still sling that stuff about how it's the libs playing nice with the left, how the media's in bed with the lefties in California and Southern California. Really? That's why the voters of Southern California blew out the liberal progressive prosecutor, Gascon. He's gone. Anyway, it's the state of the state. People are selling their souls to be part of this Trump madness, and Leo is just the latest. So.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now they come for the news. They stay for a segment that features the weird, the wonderful, the quirky, the bizarre. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Turn on the weirdness machine. This is a segment curated by our beloved Albert. A Florida woman relieves herself on the family dollar store floor while a man steals $500 of cleaning products. What a caper. Yeah, what a caper. I mean, you're distracting with the public urination while he is stealing the cleaning products.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I am loving a good caper, as you know. This is like Ocean's 15.
That's a rough day at work. You know, you go to your job at the dollar store, you never expect this.
Yeah. Deputies are searching for a man and a woman accused of stealing $500 worth of items from a Mulberry family dollar store. We have pictures of them there, those of you who are watching on YouTube. Colorful outfit that she's wearing. He's in the standard issue black hoodie. Deputies say the female suspect relieved herself on the floor to distract an employee while the male suspect gathered items to steal. I wonder if they rehearsed this at home. Anyone who recognizes these suspects is being asked to call authorities. Wow. They're calling...
You can tell by the beer choice, by the natural ice, a natty ice, what kind of people these are.
Yeah, you're right. The stuff that he's taking is not exactly high end. The deputies are calling these two Mr. Clean and Ms. Dookie.
It's not fake. No. That's real.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the discussion that went into this? He said, okay, you're going to distract him. What are you going to do? I got it. I got it. Don't worry about it.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
While he was gathering the cleaning supplies, deputies say the woman distracted employees by using the store's floor as her restroom. The employee had to clean up the mess that she made, and the couple left the store in a white van. They had the standard issue black hoodie and the standard issue white van. Authorities say the two are at large. A Florida woman tried to message her drug dealer, texted the drug investigator by mistake.
Oh, as one does.
She was messaging a drug dealer, so she thought to score
My bad.
some fentanyl.
I'm sorry.
She texted a narcotics investigator instead. The incident has brought her some attention from law enforcement authorities. She had unknowingly texted this narcotics investigator at the sheriff's office. There she is in her booking photo, which I leave to you in the audience as we do on the show. We rate on a 10 scale the booking photos. She's a 41-year-old named Octavia Wells. Love her name.
Good name.
Yeah. Charge her with possession of drug paraphernalia, unlawful use of a two-way communication device, and driving with a license suspended or revoked.
Did you really just do that?
Yeah, she really is. She's been busy. And
got a bit of a Mickey Mouse thing going on there.
Make sure, the hair is, it's a statement.
I'm going to go with a 6 on that. Nah, 7. I give her a 7.
She's getting a lot of 5s, some 2s to 5. The audience is all over the place on what the rating is. But good luck to her. Florida man is bitten by a bear cub while saving his dog from attack. I couldn't let her die, he said. It dropped my dog and then attacked me and bit me in my stomach.
Oh, no.
Said Blake Sprout. One of those situations where you're confronting wildlife. His first priority was making sure that his children didn't lose their beloved pet during this confrontation. It was a black bear cub, Kim, trying to rescue his dog from the mouth of this black bear cub.
Where's the mama bear? That's what I would have been worried about.
Yeah.
The guy's letting his dog Blake Sprout, and I love this chyron. It says "man bitten by bear." Right?
He has a strong name. There are some strong names in Friday Fabulous Florida today. Sprout told NBC's affiliate down there that he was letting his dogs outside when he opened the door and discovered there were 3 bears in his yard. I like doing the bear check before I let the dogs out of. But all right, everybody's got their own dance. Before I could stop my dogs, they just ran out to the bears. It dropped my dog, then attacked me and bit me in my stomach. A harrowing experience, Kim. I got a bunch of rabies shots just to be safe, he said. It's pretty swollen, but it should be all right. Wow.
Yikes. If it's not the Gators, it's the Bears.
Yeah. My computer just died on me, Albert. This is unbelievable. Yeah. This is these Apple products, if they could make them in this country instead of wherever they make them. I will try to rectify this situation and go from the phone so that the audience will not be in any way affected by this modest delay. Finally, there is a Florida man arrested for threatening to kill the neighbors who, now are the neighbors exhibiting weird behavior, Albert, or was it the, or was it the man?
The guy. It was the guy exhibiting it. He's like the classic Florida man. You'll get to the details.
There he is. Look at him. I kind of think he's rakishly handsome, but there he is in his booking photo.
I'm going to give that a 9.
Yeah, exactly. Look at him.
Yeah.
He's already captured Kim's heart. Yeah.
My next boyfriend. There he is.
It's between him and Anderson Cooper.
Kim, how are you?
Kind of a devilish look.
He does, and you like the bad boys.
I mean, a couple of horns coming out. He could definitely play Satan.
Oh, my God, yes. The Claremont Police Department say that they've arrested Jeffrey Hull. He allegedly exhibited erratic behavior and threatened to kill or hurt 2 of his neighbors. It's always a questionable move. Police discovered that he had an extensive past history of involvement with law enforcement. And when they say involvement with law enforcement, I think they are talking about things that didn't go too well. For example, he's known to possess a machete, to keep multiple knives in his residence. They say they conducted an extensive criminal investigation that did result in an arrest of Kim's future husband.
Yeah.
And there he is. Records show he was arrested on charges, including a bunch of stuff that you probably don't care about. But the real reason that cops were coming to the scene was because he allegedly threatened to hurt or kill 2 of his neighbors. And again, that will get a 911 call.
What can you tell us about the scene?
He was threatening the neighbors, Larry.
He'd send texts, and he'd also leave notes. Threatening.
Wow.
It's not the smartest idea.
Yeah, texts and notes. Threatened, by the way, to cut the neighbor's head off, which is, So he had already specified the manner of death, which is a particularly, shall we say, damning way to go.
The information, because when you're looking at reasons to move, it's nice to have all your ducks in a row.
Yeah. So as we wrap up Friday Fabulous Florida, we do have to pick a favorite. We don't want to, but that is the way we work it. And I will give you the list of stories that we just shared with you, just to remind you. Florida woman relieving herself on the family dollar store floor as her man steals $500 of cleaning products. It was a perfect caper. Florida woman tried to message her drug dealer instead. She texted a drug investigator by mistake. The Florida man bitten by the bear while trying to save his Pomeranian mixed dog from the jaws of the bear cub. And the Florida man arrested after threatening to kill the neighbors, who was exhibiting erratic behavior as well. Again, we don't want to pick a favorite. What has the audience chosen as their favorite, Albert, in the chat?
They're picking my favorite, the tag team caper. I love a little bait and switch, like, oh, look at this, and you're doing something else. It's it was very good.
I completely agree.
43% of the vote.
Yeah. Wow. How about you, Kim? What
Yeah,
did you choose?
I have to choose the Family Dollar Store event.
Ocean's 15. How about you, Albert? What was your fave?
Oh, that tag team caper as big.
I'm sorry.
Big
You said
61 poop and scoop gets my vote. That's
as well, and mine too.
Crap and dash.
I think it's going away. What did you say? Crap and dash?
Yes, the chat.
Crap and dash. Very strong. Very strong.
Somebody said that.
Oh, nice.
Somebody in the chat said that? Oh, my God. Clean up on aisle 5, says Underdog.
I think they should have made that lady go clean it up before they took her away in the police car, because, that's gross.
Yeah. It's not Ocean's 15, says Heather Kennedy. It's Ocean's latrine, which is a very, very well played.
John Watson says more like Ocean's number 2. There's a lot of...
Oh, Albert, you've really distinguished yourself. Yeah. Poop and scoop, says Rhonda Abrams. Yeah. Very, very well played. Exactly. All right. That's Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Right on, everybody. Right on. Thank you for being here. I haven't mentioned it, but if you can find it in your heart to smash the like button, that helps us.
With your iron rod.
Smash it like a boss. It helps us in the world of YouTube. It's free for you. Also, if you're hanging out, you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That's also free to you. And these are good ways to support the show. We try to bring you news, try to bring you some lighter stuff. We work hard to bring it to you every day. We're a 2-hour live show, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the East and 11 to 1 in the West. If you want to support us on Patreon or PayPal, that's really the way we are sustained. You go to themarkthompsonshow.com. That's one way you can do it, and there are clicks, hot links through to PayPal and Patreon. There are also, by the way, PayPal and Patreon hot links under all our videos. So thank you for using those so you don't have to go to themarkthompsonshow.com. You can just click through that way. Our community of supporters is everything. That's why we post everybody's name who has made a contribution to the show. At the end of every month, we update all of those names. So again, thank you very much for being here and for supporting our show. Now,
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. He is the wonderful Michael Shure, everybody.
Hi.
Michael? Yeah. A tough time in Southern California. It's interesting just because we are talking politics, and I've mentioned Southern California, the way in which these natural disasters are being politicized in ways that I don't remember. But again, you do have a great memory for sort of the granular way in which many of these disasters are played out for political gain. Is this worse than we've seen in the past? It seems particularly loathsome this time.
Well, it's loathsome because it's hypocritical. I'm glad we're talking about that part of this because the criticism that Mayor Karen Bass in Los Angeles endured while she wasn't even here, and because she wasn't even here, from people who didn't know why she wasn't already here, is incredible, right? I mean, you've had other instances of people not doing the right thing under extraordinary circumstances or being hypocritical. Whether it was Gavin Newsom, taking his mask off and going to a winery during COVID, whether it was Ted Cruz going to Mexico when the electric grid went out in Texas. There are examples of these sorts of things. To be clear, Mayor Bass, and I have no horse in this race, right? I mean, I'm an Angelino, and I want things to get better. Mayor Bass will be judged, and she'll be judged by the recovery and the coordination and the things for which she was elected. But she is being excoriated for, A, there not being enough water, which is nothing to do with Karen Bass. B, for people who hear that she cut funds from the fire department, and $17 million, somewhere between $17 and $26 million, 1% of the budget. And if you look at these fires and this devastation, and you can look me straight in the eye and say $17 million would have made a difference with what happened here, you are, I guess, better at analyzing situations than I. But the point is that money was reallocated. It wasn't gone. It was reallocated to the police department, and Mayor Bass was elected because she said she was going to be tougher on crime. And then she was in Ghana, just to be clear, because President Biden asked her to join a commission of Americans, distinguished Americans, there to see and witness as a delegation, official delegation of the United States, the inauguration of the new president of Ghana. She has come back, and she has done what seems to be a perfect job of getting things in order. She didn't answer questions off the plane in a jetway, and people made a big thing about that. She has been out front in front of the microphones. I will judge her harshly if this recovery goes poorly or if she is not telling us the truth. But this is what politics is. You elect leaders, and this city elected Karen Bass, and you elect leaders to do these things, especially in Los Angeles where natural disasters happen, and then you judge them later. We'll have a chance to vote for or against her again in a couple of years. And so I'm angry about it. This is a time where people should pull together, and I think that there's been a division sown in this country, and it rears its head, whether it's natural disasters, whether it is a small issue in sports, a large issue in politics, whatever it is, you have to take a side. Let's, it sounds hokey, but let's just be on the mayor's side here. She was elected, she's running it. We want this to get better, and she's the person who's going to lead that. Done. Yeah, I'm not even sure that budget cut to which you've referred, or reallocation, was it obviously had no impact on what was going on with these fires. I mean, this is a natural disaster of immense proportion. $17.5 million was not going to make any difference. But also, I thought that reallocation hadn't even necessarily been applied yet. In other words, I thought it was for the next fiscal year, but I may be mistaken about that. But in any case, to your first point, the idea somehow that she's being hauled in and pilloried for that is an extraordinary thing, and that's just one of the ways in which California is being used as sort of this. That's the other thing. Like, we don't actually know, and I don't know the answer to that. And I do know the answer of why the mayor wasn't here, and I know she hurried back once this happened. You cannot be the mayor. First of all, if she were on vacation and she hurried back, it was okay if she were in Hawaii. The mayor's allowed to take a vacation. You cannot predict what just happened. I mean, I'm sorry, but she wasn't even on vacation, and she did hurry back. And now she's mayoring, right? I mean, that's what she was elected to do. And so I think that people who get bent out of shape over the fact that she wasn't here, you don't know when something like this has happened. By the way, something like this, things have happened in this city. They've happened in the county more than the city, and you cannot predict something that has never happened before.
Thank you. These are unprecedented wins. Unprecedented. Yeah. And Brendan, I would say this to you, although I know you're just trolling us maybe. The mayor underfunded and abandoned. It's not a natural disaster when it's set by arsonists. Yes, Brendan, it actually is, because the setting of the fire isn't natural in the sense that it was arson. But the way in which the conflagration grows at the foot of 80 to 100 mile an hour winds, that is a natural disaster. So you have just fed into what are a number of factors that are completely natural and unprecedented, this man-made cause. I mean, it's always a power line falling or something. I understand that's not natural either. But when that power line falls and ignites a hillside, now you're dealing with a natural disaster because of the ferocity of the winds. That's why I think it's fair to call it a natural disaster.
This is still considered a brush fire, is it not?
I believe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it was termed. I mean, in my judgment, it was obviously a wildfire in the fact that the winds were blowing these fires in the wild urban wild what is it? Sorry, I've been up for like 3 days. The urban wild land interface there. I'm sorry, just but my point is there's a point at which
none of us know what it is, so you could call it.
I think there is an argument to be made that we've built out LA over such a long period of time. We've built out California over such a long period of time. Napa, Sonoma, these are areas that have grown into the wildland interface that is right up against the urban development. So as you do more of that, there is going to be more of a risk. So that's the backdrop against which all of this happens. And I would I would say, I know this is your segment. I don't mean to make a speech about it.
Look, this is an extraordinary time. So we have this conversation, and
I just think that the layers of development that happened over decades that led to this, and then they meet this extraordinary natural event, which again is the result of a lot of things during this climate crisis that has taken centuries to build up to this moment. That all came together in this horrible tragedy. That's what happened here.
It's 100% right. And look, we don't even have to talk about trigger words, climate or anything. This is a disaster that's happening, right? The mayor, I mean, I'm still stuck on this thing. The mayor is doing what she was elected to do. Judge her later. I mean, you can't judge her for being out of the country. I'm sorry, I don't accept that. What you just said is so true. The gravity of this was unpredictable. These fires happen typically in Malibu. She's not the mayor of Malibu. If they happen in other parts of the city where they have happened, where she is not the mayor, the county takes over. But even still, she came back. And she will be judged on the recovery. She didn't light a match in a garden in the Palisades and start this fire, but she's certainly the person now charged who we should all rally behind to get things done. And you know, there's this photo of Mayor Bass on the jetway getting off a plane where she was sort of bird dogged by a reporter on a plane who happened to have been on her flight, coincidentally coming to Los Angeles to cover the fires from her London connection, who asked her several questions. She said nothing. I don't know what happened before that. I don't know if she said or her handler said the mayor will not be answering any questions, and that guy was just harassing her in that way. He was doing his job. I don't like when people don't.
Well, he asked them in very arch ways, Michael. You said doing his job. He said, "Don't you owe your constituents?" Or
let me finish. I mean, he came at it with an attitude. I never like when people don't answer questions, but I get why. And this is what I was going to say, what you were saying. I get why she wasn't answering, because he seemed to have an agenda and she didn't want to entertain that agenda. If his agenda was to get the truth, you know, he should have asked those questions in far different ways, and he didn't. But it doesn't matter. Like, here we are. Let's rally behind this mayor. She's the mayor the city has right now. Let's not talk about politics. Let's make sure that she gets all the support she can have going forward, and that the community comes together and they rebuild what they can, and they rehouse the people.
Yeah, I get it. Wasn't a surprise, but what do you want people to do? They warn the public. They create the advisory criteria. They make everybody aware of it. They try to get everybody on board with the apps that let them know that there is a warning or an evacuation in their areas. And after that, it's about the course of events that are anticipated, but that are gruesome and awful.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I mean, look, you know, I just think it's that has little to do. I mean, where the mayor was. She came back when this was terrible, and now let's get behind her. I've said my piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the mayor, I guess. And again, I don't mean to obsess on this, but it's really wall to wall on Fox News Channel, on Newsmax. Somebody sent me something the other day, just yesterday, I think it was, where they're they're blaming the lack of water on Newsom policy, and of course, Trump made up something about Newsom having turned down and refusing to sign some agreement about water, which is completely non-existent. I mean, he just invented this thing. It was this is not even fact-based criticism. So what I'm seeing is they're going after California, after liberal policies, after Gavin Newsom as the hood ornament for all of that. Right. So that's being played out nationally as well.
Yeah, they're laughing at this unspeakable tragedy that's happened in this community, and they're saying they're finger pointing and blaming. You do that at another time, right? Let's. This is, people are reeling. People are, we all have friends who lost everything. Thankfully, not their lives. But so pick another time to do that. That if there's a house burning, don't say it's because it's, because Gavin Newsom did something. Let's put out the fire and try and figure out how to do better next time. And yeah, I mean, everybody could do better, including Karen Bass, by the way. I mean, she should, maybe she should have answered questions there or said, listen, I'm not going to talk. I have a press conference later. Thank you. She handled that poorly, but I don't care how she handled that. I want to see how she handles this, and hopefully she handles it well.
These media owners, fewer and fewer in number. I'm talking about those that control social media companies, those control newspapers. I used to see them as, some of them, particularly the ones who rescued newspapers from what would, clearly be the end. LA Times, Washington Post, for two high-profile examples. I used to see them a bit as saviors of an important part of the information game, the kind of investigative reporting that the LA Times does, the kind of daily reporting that they do. Same is true at the Washington Post. Right. I now see it as a much more complicated picture. I wasn't sweating completely the lack of an endorsement from some of them, but I did think that kind of tipped the hand. And now, to your point, and to some of the stuff we've talked about, the owner of the LA Times, who is the wealthy billionaire who rescued the LA Times. As I say, I was kind of grateful to this guy.
Yeah, a lot of us.
He's gone after Mayor Bass in these ways that you've described, for cutting the fire department budget, et cetera. So, and then I go to Bezos, who runs the Washington Post. And again, I was grateful. He saved the Washington Post, such brilliant Pulitzer Prize-winning reporting. He has now, it seems, completely bent the knee to Donald Trump. Zuckerberg as well, and it goes beyond. Of course, Musk, a historic kind of wrapping of his arms around Trump.
Maybe ABC should not have had George Stephanopoulos settle with Donald Trump, because thereafter everybody got so terrified of him. Everyone in media got so terrified of it. So you have the Bezos, the Patrick Soon-Shiong's, all these people who pull editorials and endorsements and I don't know. It's so disconcerting. I interrupted you, Mark. Sorry.
No, but I mean, you just answered the question essentially before I asked it, which is, to me, the political five-alarm fire is the one associated with information in this country. Already siloed as we are, now you have the heads of these information companies, information outlets, essentially bending over and tacitly or explicitly expressing a desire. Look at what happened with Facebook this week, saying that we're not going to have fact checkers anymore. Yes. So they're essentially, it's open season on saying whatever you want and offering whatever propaganda you want.
Yeah, these are things that have burnt down without flames, and they will have an enduring effect. They can't be rebuilt overnight, like other things, and you're right. It's another devastation that you have the owners of papers criticizing, and not. I mean, the editor-in-chief of the or publisher of the Los Angeles Times should not be criticizing the mayor right now. It's the Los Angeles Times, the paper of record for this city, that is undergoing the worst that it's seen probably in generations, and now's the time to say, hey, listen, we're going to cover this really well, and we're going to make sure that every dollar is well spent, and we're going to make sure that every word that the mayor says that we hold her to, and all the city officials. But to criticize and blame, come on, that's not what the local paper does.
Donald Trump was sentenced today, if you will. I mean, it strikes me as the tepid sentencing associated with a guy who's clearly very powerful, and this is a symbolic thing. I don't think still Trump wanted it, right? He went to the Supreme Court to try to stop it, but even his hand-picked Supreme Court justices, two of them, wouldn't bail him out on this one. And so he went to Judge Merchan's courtroom and spoke for several minutes, and he railed against the system. You know, he was defiant till the end. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, not surprising, and not the verdict is, you know, I don't know what kind of the sentence. I don't know what kind of sentence could have been imposed. The one that a lot of people wanted wasn't going to happen. And the one that a lot of people on either side. I mean, the end result is that Donald Trump will take the oath of office next week as a felon, and for whatever that, however, in a week and a half, that however that affects people, it affects people. He's also been impeached a few times and was reelected. So I don't know. The fact that he railed against him, that doesn't surprise me. That's on message, and he doesn't veer from his message really ever. I mean, really ever. Yesterday, he was seated next to former President Obama at Jimmy Carter's funeral at National Cathedral, and they were joking around a bit. And afterwards, Trump was said, or they were laughing, or they were having what seemed to be an extended, friendly conversation with laughter. And afterwards, he said, someone said, it looked like you two were getting along. And he said, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. People probably thought that, or whatever. He could, as soon as it was almost like he was caught. Oh, I was being nice to Barack Obama. I can't do that. I can't veer off of message. So I'm not surprised that that's what happened today.
Yeah, he said, I get along with everybody, is what he said. And so, really? The fact is, though, he's going to take office. He is convicted, 34 counts, again, as a felon. I note that Merchan made a point of the fact that it's the office of the presidency that offers him the legal reasons that he's not imposing any punishment in the case. It's not the person, it's not the man, Donald Trump, it's the office of the presidency. And I'm sure that's a distinction that, you know, Donald Trump doesn't really give an S about, but nonetheless, it's there. And, so I'll just, because people may just be joining us, Trump, I thought he wouldn't show at all. He actually joined, not in the courtroom, but virtually. You know, he tied in like a Zoom call. And so he made his connection to this court case and his statements that way. But I think after that, it's all sort of detail that, from a legal perspective, isn't particularly relevant. Because I think there was one notion that Kim pointed out, the parole, Kim, what was it? The parole officer or investigator, or there are a lot of people associated with the case who speak with Trump. It's sort of pro forma, and it's very routine. At the same time, they do gain a little perspective on the guy. And wasn't it a parole officer, Kim, or something like that?
It was the parole expert that he had to be interviewed by several months ago.
And what did he say about Trump? He said, I'll summarize. I just was looking for a summary, but he said, this is a guy who clearly sees himself above the law and has no respect for the law. That's what he said. Right. So I think, again, in Trump's mind, this is all something of an annoyance and embarrassment for sure. But in the panoply of stuff that he could have been hauled in on and was never hauled in on because of Merrick Garland, I think this is kind of a rounding error.
Can I just also mention what Trump's reaction was after the really no punishment sentencing? He said, and this is a quote, "This has been a horrible experience." As if it was supposed to be a good experience to be convicted of felonies and then be sentenced.
I had to miss a cocktail party at Mar-a-Lago because I had to. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
It's been horrible.
No, I mean exactly. I mean, what do you expect that parole officer to say? It's clear that he believes he's above the law. It's clear that he thinks that things that are enshrined in constitutions and protocol don't matter to him. That's not surprising. Yet, the depressing thing is obviously that we knew all this, and he got reelected, right? I mean, so you can't really do much about that. The people knew this. This was out there, and people decided to refute it. And it goes back to our conversation about the media. It goes back to getting rid of fact checkers. It's even when those facts are checked, they don't believe it because they get their information from other sources of media. The people that I spoke to, ad nauseum, would all say, I'd ask them where they hear the news, and they wouldn't even say Fox. Most of them wouldn't say Fox. They would say, "Oh no, Fox has lost their way." They would move on and they would say either Newsmax or OAN, or my favorite, which was, other independent places I like to look. Right. So there, and so that's what Donald Trump has done so well, is he has curated a media, and he's put people onto that media, and he has degraded the rest of the media that we've been so accustomed to, that we're not beyond reproach, but nonetheless, we're not as bad as Trump had them. And
with fact-checking gone, is it time to misuse this, to divide MAGA from the oligarchy that has fooled them? Seems ethics does not matter, only power, says Osbjorn. I don't know to what degree you can divide MAGA, but just because it was brought up, it is interesting, Michael, as MAGA is deserted by the oligarchy, which is clearly going to be in power in Washington. I wonder how that will be handled. Now, they might be deserted in more subtle ways, and as you sort of just hinted, it'll be packaged in such a way that the MAGA faithful will still think they're getting something. But the reality is it's the oligarchy in control.
It is the oligarchy. The predictive analysis is hard to do because there's no precedent for it, right? It is a... it mirrors what we were saying about the natural disaster and the fires and the weather, and you could never have predicted that the Palisades would burn down, but that there was a fire, sure. In the same way, you can't predict what's going to happen. The real test will be to see whether MAGA is a cult of personality that once Trump is off the stage will go away. Off the stage, may be dead, right? It may not. Sure. It may only live until he is done living. And so, but I don't know. Or it could be that he has created a movement that will sustain after him. I think the opposition to anyone who isn't Donald Trump from within would be much stronger than it is for Donald Trump. I think people would be more vocal about it if it came from, if J.D. Vance were to be the person who grabs that baton and runs with it. There are a lot of people who serve with J.D. Vance. People didn't know Donald Trump. He was this celebrity icon someplace else. And people who, it's going to be hard to find somebody to grab that. Now, could it be Elon Musk? Maybe. Could it be Tucker Carlson? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think that the elected officials that have enabled Donald Trump, not the voters, the elected officials, are going to have that same kind of knee-jerk and sort of getting down genuflection at somebody else who isn't Donald Trump for a long time.
As we begin to realize the texture of the incoming administration, could you give me a thought on that? I just know that we're awaiting these confirmations that will come through a process whereby there'll be multiple days that Pete Hegseth will stand and take an oath, and then be pilloried by questions that will be coming from the general Democratic left, if you will, and then be buoyed and propped up by questions and statements that are coming from the right. That's going to be played out with Tulsi Gabbard, et cetera, Kash Patel. Can you give me some sense? I'm not asking necessarily for you to predict, but for what the days ahead will likely have?
I think that's more easy to predict, right? And we can predict that because of the Republican majority in the Senate, and the fact that these things usually go off. The hitches have already happened to a lot of these nominees, right? They air them out. They let people weigh in on it. It was clear that Matt Gaetz was not going to go anywhere, and so that balloon was popped. Some of them, maybe it's a question of whether people will vote for Tulsi Gabbard. Unless you have Republicans on the record saying, I cannot support X, it doesn't matter. If it's 53-47, if it's 51-49, if the Democrats are able to woo two over, that person's still going to be. If it's 50-50, you have the vice president sitting as the president of the Senate breaking a tie. So I just have to think that unless something more egregious than what we know right now is out there, and unless Republicans decide that they're going to pick one person to kind of be the scapegoat or the fall guy or fall woman, that you're probably know who the cabinet's going to be, and you probably know how Donald Trump is going to legislate. And I think, I always say that he's a lame duck the moment he takes the oath. It's going to take a little while, probably into the summer, before people from within his own party try and carve out their own space, and that space is going to be going against the administration in some way, which has not proven successful to people. But Trump not being allowed to run again makes a difference.
Depressed Canadian says if Dick Cheney can appear in pro-Democratic campaign ads, by the way, did he? I understand that he said he was not voting for Trump. I don't know if he appeared in any ads, or maybe I know Liz did. Pro-Democratic campaign ads, or John Bolton being treated like a wise statesman. Don't underestimate that Trump will be rehabilitated by the mainstream media in 10 years. Yeah, he may or may not be alive, but it's possible that they, I don't know. I think history, I hate this. I hate that history will be unkind, because I always feel like people who say history are unkind lost the game. You know what I mean? But I don't know that the rehabilitation of Donald Trump will take any kind of, but it's possible. Michael,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, this is what people in the bubble, which I am part of a little bit, fail to realize. Most Americans, by the results in November, don't think that Donald Trump needs to be rehabilitated, that they think that he's doing just fine. And they wanted him back. And they rejected a president who has been effective, and that president's vice president who ran, and their reasons for that. But I don't want to overplay that. You know who needed to be, whose reputation needed to be fixed? Jimmy Carter. And he was laid to rest yesterday. And it was a 40-year process of rehabilitating his presidency that Carter did by sort of flexing his humanitarian personality. Stuart Eisenstadt, who worked in the Carter administration, was, I believe, chief of staff for a little while in the Carter administration, gave a eulogy yesterday and said, we all know what he did the last 40 years. Let's talk about what a great president he was. Let's talk about the lasting things he did in that administration. I don't know that there's going to be a way to do that with Donald Trump, because a lot of it is temporary, it's ceremonial, it's symbolic, and it's not enduring. Let's be optimistic that something might happen that's good, but there's nothing from the first term that leads one to believe that. And so will he be real? But I don't know. And I don't know that Donald Trump is going to matter. That's what I'm saying. Maybe he will. And, I think it's very interesting to see what happens to MAGA. And going back to the comment, I think anybody who's in a newsroom that says, I got John Bolton who says he'll come on the air and talk dirty about Donald Trump, and everyone will say, yes, get him on. That's fantastic, John Bolton. So everybody loves a turncoat, and Dick Cheney and John Bolton were turncoats.
Michael, congrats to your Rangers on being 1 point better than the Islanders and the Flyers.
Yes, faint praise.
Keg half full, my friend. Keg half full, says Luis.
Yeah, I'll take a half full keg. I'm going to go see my beloved Rangers, who are on a 1-game winning streak, tomorrow night. Is it tomorrow, Saturday? Yeah, in Las Vegas tomorrow. So,
Audrey says, Mark, he definitely did do the ad, Dick Cheney. Okay, well then I must have missed that. Michael Shure, you're a political genius, says Underdog. Wow. And CC Ryder also says, I did see Dick Cheney in a pro-democracy ad. Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up for now. Las Vegas is where Michael Shure is going to see his beloved hockey team.
Indeed.
Very exciting. What a dedicated, he's a dedicated Niners fan. I've mentioned it before. He's flown across the country to see the Niners play. And now here he is going to Las Vegas to see the Rangers show up. Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a coincidence. It turns out that I was going to Vegas and I looked at the Golden Knights game. I was like, oh my God, they're playing the Rangers. So it means that I will be leaving the viewing of the Steelers and Ravens game.
Here's an Edmonton Oilers fan. Depressed Canadian says, "Go Oilers."
I love '97. I gotta say, I love his team. I live in Los Angeles. I went to a couple of the Oilers Kings playoff games and pulled for the Oilers. I love Edmonton. I want, when the Rangers don't win the Stanley Cup, I always want a Canadian team to win it, or Buffalo, because they've never.
You're not a turncoat when you tell the truth and facts, says Calvin Wong about Bolton. All right.
Right.
Well.
Right. Yeah. And that's fair. Turncoat may not be the right thing. I think that Calvin or whoever said that is right. I just, it's not a question of being, it's somebody who is, they're turning their coats to the person that they worked with. So maybe it's not the right thing because they're not doing anything nefarious. They're telling the truth, but it's certainly makes what they have to say more compelling because of where they came from.
I adore you. I appreciate your contribution to the show, and I look forward with great anticipation to the fact that you will be hosting this show next week.
Let's do it.
I think it's starting on Tuesday through Friday. It will be the brilliant Michael Shure showing me how this show should be done, and I'm really
not at all, Mark. We all lament you not being there. Are you going to drop in like you did from a cruise ship last time?
Alas, I cannot. I have to do radio in Los Angeles, which is really the reason I can't be here. So, anyway, thanks,
Well,
Michael.
I look forward to seeing everybody, and and any suggestions or any questions or any kinds of guests that people want, put it in the comments to Mark and Kim and Albert, and we'll see what we can drum up if there's someone we want to talk to about any of what we talk about all the time.
Michael is amazing, says Northern Tier FPV. Yeah. Hey, you got a lot. Love and thanks from Rhonda. Wow. I got to get out of here while I still have some self-esteem left.
Yeah, so Mark, thanks for being here.
Michael, adore you. See you soon. Michael Shure, everybody. Woo. Love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Right on, everybody. Right on. Great to have everybody here on a Friday. It has been the longest week in a long time, and appreciate everybody who has supported us through this week. The week ends with me being able to red card somebody or yellow card somebody. Let me just see. I've told you before that I will allow a lot of static. You can always call me names. You can give me static. And I'll even indulge some of the trolls, and that frustrates a lot of people in our community when I respond to some troll. But the one thing you cannot do on this show, and I will not allow it, is just, and you can attack even guests on facts, but don't call a guest of mine ever any names. I will not allow it. And I'm much more loose about this stuff than Kim is. Kim is ready to throw you into the gulag with just a couple of bad comments. But I'm much, I want to say more liberal, looser, whatever. But I saw something in here.
I got rid of it.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm. I don't tolerate it either. I deleted it.
I'm yellow carding you, John Antal. I'm yellow carding you. You know what that means? This is your warning, okay? If you ever insult a guest of mine again, John Antal, I will throw you off the show and you're never coming back. And that's not personal, dude. I'm happy to have you in the chat, disagree with me and all the rest. But don't call any of my guests any names. Do not do it. We don't tolerate it here.
We could try ignoring it, sir.
No, you're not going to ignore it. But that does remind me, it's been a moment since I've had my Coachella Valley coffee, and I am excited. I'm excited. Michael Snider, you got some Coachella Valley coffee too, I think. I left some out there in the green room for you.
You did, and I'm grateful. It's the best coffee on the planet.
It is that, Michael, and you're here. Available to our audience, even those of you who've been yellow carded, you can still get it at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Be sure to use our discount code. The discount code is MarkT, and you get 10% off. John Watson with the sayonara sucker. Well, it's not quite sayonara yet, but it's
sayonara sucker.
No, I don't know. It's just
it's ridiculous.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
No, again, I welcome the idiots, but I don't welcome the name calling. Kim, you're delightful. You're the best. I am so glad you've bounced back to the extent that you have. And I wish I had time for your news today.
Which is really a bummer because there's a bunch of good stories in there.
No, I don't know. I can make Michael wait longer, and then the show goes later, and then you're up. Then it's.
Let me give you the highlights.
You're bummed out because we're going.
The highlights in like a minute or less.
It's fine with me. All right, we'll do that. All right.
We don't even.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim is going to give you a turbo newscast, which she will like to do, and we will have Michael Snider after that turbo newscast. So go for it. Kim, this is Turbo News.
This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Wanted to get to the news because we do have some better news now. The deadly Southern California wildfires beginning to be contained. Officials say the Palisades fire is at 8% containment. It's one of 5 active wildfires in Southern California. At least 10 people dead. The structures destroyed in the 10,000 at least. Santa Ana winds, though, expected to pick up again. This morning, gusts could reach 35 to 55 miles per hour in the valleys and along the coast of Los Angeles and Ventura counties, up to 75 miles per hour in the mountains. Meanwhile, daytime relative humidity is expected to be between 5 and 15%. The National Weather Service calling for wind gusts of 55 to 65 miles per hour in the Santa Clarita Valley. The National Guard is being deployed around Los Angeles County to stop looting in the neighborhoods damaged by the wildfires. The Los Angeles Rams playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings will be played in Glendale, Arizona. Because of the wildfires, it is the first time an NFL playoff game has ever been relocated.
A lot of those players don't have power at their homes. It's
it's a mess.
They've all been affected. Yeah, it's not, as they said, they're human beings. So.
Contrary to what some people are posting on the internet, the Hollywood sign did not, I repeat, not burn down in the wildfires. Fake images of the Hollywood sign surrounded by fire went viral on social media Wednesday night, making some people think that that landmark was lost. It was not. Yeah. We've already known about the president-elect being sentenced today, so I will say that California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara is promising relief for the homeowners impacted by the Los Angeles wildfires. Lara mandating a 1-year moratorium on insurance non-renewals and cancellations. He also notified all insurance companies to stop any pending non-renewals or cancellations for properties near the wildfires, even if they weren't damaged. The commissioner also issuing a notice directing companies to continue providing health care and access to medications to victims of these fires. And it should be noted today that stocks are getting hammered on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell more than 500 points after a stronger than expected jobs report, and all 3 major indexes plunged more than 1% in the first hour of trading as the Treasury yield spiked today. Security screeners at SFO demanding better pay, protesting at a rally outside the airport. In San Francisco, Walgreens drastically reducing its footprint in San Francisco, dozens of Walgreens stores shutting down. And the whole TikTok saga, there's a group that includes billionaires, entrepreneur and former LA Dodgers owner Frank McCourt and Shark Tank famous investor Kevin O'Leary. They've put together a group, made a formal offer for TikTok yesterday, so we'll see how that goes.
Wow. I told you that is what this TikTok endgame is going to look like. It's not going away. It's just going to be scooped up by billionaires in this country who are going to get it at a song price.
Google joining the growing list of companies donating large amounts to President-elect Trump. They are giving $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund. Also, Google is offering a new feature that turns a user's daily search history on the internet into a podcast. It's an experimental AI-generated podcast. It provides insights and commentary on the user's interests and browsing data, because that's what you want to hear, some AI voice coming at you.
You can't tell they're AI voices anymore, though, Kim. You can't tell.
You can so.
I don't think so. I'll tell you what. I mean, I think it's getting better and better. It's scary as a voiceover guy. I think it's really hard to tell. Don't you think, Michael? It's difficult to tell sometimes.
I am not a robot.
And lastly, a new study suggests there are health benefits to drinking coffee, but only if you drink it in the morning. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. There's more to that story, but we're moving on.
Oh, my God. I love that.
I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show.
Love my Coachella Valley coffee.
Yes, I'm very unhappy with everything I've heard today on your show.
Sorry about that. Well, it's very exciting to have everybody here. I'll tell you how exciting it is. I've got
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens.
Oh my God,
This
Shadow.
is the Mark Thompson Show.
Right on, baby.
Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Come on, you love Fridays. Even at the end of a Friday where we've had to evacuate and the craziness, we haven't slept in days. We've tried to get it all in for you. Thank you for being here. I'll quickly handle a couple of comments before I get to the beloved Michael Snider. Chaplain Fred, who has been so generous with this show, gave us a $50 super chat, I believe, earlier in the week. He says, "Hi, Mark. We invited him onto the show because it was a suggestion. One of the listeners said, you should invite Chaplain Fred. I thought that would be a great idea because he's the chaplain to the firefighters, etc. He said, thank you for the invite. Maybe later down the road. Love your honest truth," he says. "I found you on TYT and been listening to you for a few months now. Thank you. Love my brothers and sisters at TYT. And I extend that love to Chaplain Fred. Thank you for finding us and for being such a great supporter. Really do very much appreciate it." The Depressed Canadian says, "What's really gross are the right-wing grifters like Eric Weinstein using this disaster as an excuse to espouse no longer supporting Ukraine. The disaster is being used to confirm everyone's pet causes." Yeah, I mean, they're politicizing aspects of this entire thing in ways that are the most perverse imaginable. Marilyn G with a super sticker, and a big shout out to you, Marilyn. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. And will Leo Terrell bring in David Duke as a consultant to further social justice? Exactly. Leo Terrell is one of the saddest tales of a guy who just crawled up MAGA's rump to try to improve his own lot, and it worked. He'll be at the Justice Department. You'll be paying him. You and I will be paying Leo Terrell. All of his travel, all of his dinners, all of his BS. He'll be doing it all. And he'll still get a chance to go on Fox News Channel and blowtorch the left as he does. "Hi, Mark. This is a donation for my cat, Coco, for your cats to use at their discretion." Wow, a $25 super chat from Donald, the Maine Coon.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Thank you. Appreciate that. Also, can we get Jennifer back to talk about the march on January 6th, says D. Elliott. We should get her back. I'd like to get her back. You know I'm a fan, and we will get her back. So thank you for that suggestion. Can't wait for almost a week of Michael Shure coming up, says Sea-Dog. I agree. Can't wait either. Should be good. Michael Shure filling in for Mark is like Pearl Jam stepping in for U2 to headline a festival. Wow. Luis. I'm falling in love with Luis.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And Depressed Canadian says this, quick correction, as Dick Cheney's 2022 primary ad for Liz Cheney was replayed and quoted by MSNBC when he publicly endorsed Kamala. His written endorsement along with Liz were used in DNC messaging. I see. Yeah, so he didn't appear in an ad. So technically, I was right, if I can just say that. And so I'd like somebody to apologize. Albert, there's no one else around, so if you could apologize, I'd appreciate it. Again, maybe you want to apologize to the Asian community or the...
and I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Okay, that'll work. I'll take it. I consider myself at times the Asian community.
We welcome you. We welcome you, Mark. Yep.
Hey, Albert, do you know Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, says Peter Newton with a $5 super chat. Today, Friday Fabulous Florida did a remake of the famous luncheon scene by Steve Martin. Now, I'm guessing you don't know that movie, do you?
That's a negative, yeah.
It is such a great movie. You will love it. I encourage you, as I do always, for you to see it. And as I do always, I realize that you never will because you never look at any of the movies that I encourage you to see. So, anyway, very well done. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your support. Now, without any further delay, although we do love delaying on this show, How about it for a guy who knows the Marvel Universe, the DC Universe, the Korean subtitles, the French subtitles, some obscure film, some obscure streamer, some indie movie, whatever it may be. He is the Culture Blaster, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for Michael Snider, everyone?
I am here. Unlike the Palisades fire, I can't be contained. I am on top of things, Mark. It's been treacherous. It has. The power's still at my place here in L.A., and if not for the kindness of the people across the street who have solar panels, I would not have been able to be charged up on the phone and computer. I would not have been able to kind of have a decent night's sleep. It's been... I'm very grateful. And
Sure.
neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping strangers. That's what it's all about. Hopefully we're going to survive this. I will say, I will never eat flaming hot Cheetos, hot pot, or fire roasted chicken again.
You want nothing with hot anymore.
No, nor will I listen to Don Henley's The Heat Is On, Nick Gilder's Hot Child in the City, or Jimi Hendrix's Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire. I want nothing to do with those songs.
What a list. He put that list together.
You know, I literally, this is the truth. I just got an email blast from Best Buy with the subject line, "Wow, these Fire TVs are calling your name." I mean, believe
That
me,
is
Best Buy.
brutal, yeah.
I am not answering.
I don't want to see fire.
No.
Phineas says, Michael Snider, good Shabbos.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Are you a rabbi now?
I guess. I don't know. I don't have the payasses, but, you know, that's an in-joke for everybody who speaks
Well, I
a
guess
little
to
Yiddish.
you and Phineas will get that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
anyway, you know, this is that
What
desert.
about David Burns burning down the house, says John
Oh,
Watson.
I'll listen to that, but only because it's not my house. It's a house belonging to some wealthy person in Malibu.
Oh, well, my heart breaks for everyone, but go ahead.
I agree. I
All
agree. Don't put my feet to the fire. Anyway.
All right.
I do want to also say that I brought you a little gift.
Glenn Fry did The Heat Is On Culture
I know,
Culture
but
Blaster.
it
Get
was,
your Eagles right, dude, says Jim.
It was one of those two morons.
My bad.
Burning Love. Burning Love, says Norman. Everybody can play this game. I love it.
Please don't trigger.
How about we didn't start the fire, says Chaplain Fred.
I sure didn't, but let me tell you, there are some bad people out there, arsonists. When I heard about the looting in the Hollywood Hills, I was flummoxed, and I thought to myself, thank God I have nothing to steal.
Yeah,
but,
there's that.
So anyway, it's kind of, I wanted to say, I brought you a gift. You and Courtney. I know you, as a vegan, love non-animal foodstuffs.
Right.
And the brutal winds that were so instrumental in causing this nightmare also blew about 100 avocados off my tree in the backyard, and I brought them all here.
Oh, my God, that's great. We love avocados.
Yeah, I actually brought you about 7 or 8, but I have more. I'll bring
That's
some
great.
every week, except, you know, you're not going to be here next Friday. So anyway, it is a desert out there in terms of movies. It's early January. People are concerned with the awards that are getting rolled out at places like the Golden Globes event. And those were all prestige movies at the end of the previous year. And the studios and the distributors have a few dribs and drabs that they're going to slowly push out over the course of January, and things will rev up a little bit. But right now, things are slow. So it's the ideal time for an action movie of little import, but a measure of entertainment. So we'll kick off the review segment with Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. This is a sequel to the 2018 action movie that assumes you've seen the 2018 action movie starring Gerard Butler as a LA area sheriff who goes up against a criminal mob that are trying to rip off the Fed. They're trying to steal millions, and they have a clever scheme. And I don't want to detail it, but Ice Cube's kid, a pretty good broadcaster. He's done some sports broadcasting here in the LA area.
What's his name?
His name is, if you need it,
well, Ice Cube's kid.
I know. I was getting to it. O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Okay.
I like to call him Little Cube, but he's actually his own man, and he's done some good stuff. He was, in fact, in
Ice Cube's subwoofer. I have the same subwoofer that Ice Cube has, and the only reason I know that is the guy who was like, you know, that those guys who sell you stereo equipment and everything that you did never need.
Sure.
It's like the high-end equipment.
Oh, yeah.
So the guy came in, and by the way, he was in Saturday Night Fever. The guy who sold me he had a big role in Saturday Night Fever. Anyway, he comes in, and I go, "Hey, aren't you the guy from Saturday Night Fever?" But anyway, he said he's pitching this big, expensive subwoofer for my place, and he said, you know, I just sold the same subwoofer to Ice Cube, which actually did work on me. I ended up buying it.
Oh my God! Yeah, it was straight out of Best Buy.
Yeah, now
straight out of
now
Compton.
I couldn't find it if my life depended on it. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so
sorry.
anyway,
that was a digression.
O'Shea Jackson.
That's Ice
O'Shea
Cube's
Jackson
kid,
Jr.
yeah.
was like he is the getaway driver in the first movie. Things transpire in that film, and this new movie, which is so many years later, it expects that you know what happened in the L.A. set Popcorn Muncher with all of its twists and turns and betrayals, no matter how outlandish. And if you saw it, you know the backstory that connects Butler's character with Jackson's character. But if not, you're going into this with a disadvantage.
Oh.
Nonetheless, I was somewhat entertained. I
You
mean,
liked it, didn't you?
The sequel is set mostly in Europe, starts in L.A. Well, actually, it starts in Europe and then shifts to L.A. Specifically, the French Riviera city of Nice. I don't think it was shot there, but whatever it was, it passed for Nice. So much of the movie is all about, well, first off, for some reason, Butler's character goes to Europe because I guess he thinks he can catch up to Jackson's character. By the way, Big Nick, Butler's character, is sort of slovenly. It reminded me a little bit of how much we love Gary Oldman in Slow Horses. He's kind of a slovenly do-gooder. And so you got that. He's getting divorced from the wife that he cheated on in the first movie. You're picking up the threads of the first film. And Donnie, which is O'Shea Jackson's character, is in Europe, and he's trying to pull off a jewel heist. Okay, spoiler alert, he got away at the end of the first film. So 6, 7, 8 years later, he's over in Europe. And what's going on is so confusing, even if you've seen the previous film, because there are all these battling contingents trying to get a hold of an unbelievably valuable diamond that gets lifted from a plane in Antwerp airport. So who is the good guy? Who is the bad guy? There are degrees of badness here. And then there's Gerard Butler's character. Okay. So much of the movie, maybe as much as 20%, features people speaking in a variety of foreign languages, and the screening I attended had zero subtitles when these people were talking to further confuse matters in the movie. So the complexities of the plot, such as it is, and the interrelationships were often lost, and quite a few of the European actors who were speaking English were speaking it with such thick accents that it was a chore to understand some of that dialogue. Even so, there is a heist sequence and some car chase sequences that are, as they like to say, worth the price of admission.
Wow.
Like the previous movie, this was written and directed by Christian Gudgast, and, not a household name, but, I was kind of interested. Diamond thieves and the mafia versus just career criminals. And in the middle of all this is Butler. If there's nothing else to do this weekend and you're not in a fire zone, you could do worse than watching Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. But I can't really.
You kind of like parts of it, it seems to me.
Yeah, it was not great.
Motor X says it was shot in Spain, Michael Snider, and they were there while the shooting was going on in the movie. They were next door neighbors, the two actors.
Right. Like I was saying, something was standing in for Nice. It wasn't really Nice.
Yeah, but it was definitely European. There you go.
Let's move on to something.
Let's move on.
This is like a catch-up time because things are so slow. Things that I could have reviewed earlier had I seen them. But there is something very timely about this next movie and something very exciting. The movie is called Eno. Mm-hmm. And you may know Brian Eno as the glammed-up synthesizer player from the original lineup of the awesome and influential art rock band Roxy Music. He was like making the electronic squeaks and squonks behind lead singer Brian Ferry for their first 2 albums. He didn't love touring, and he decided to pursue a solo career. And you may know him as a brilliant and idiosyncratic solo artist and collaborator with a lot of really top-notch musicians, or as the producer of, among others, David Bowie, U2, Talking Heads.
Is that right?
Devo, John Cale. And, he's won awards. He's made some of the greatest music ever in collaboration with these people. You may know him as the creator of crucial ambient music albums like Discreet Music and Music for Airports, or you may not know him at all, but you should, and you can in a really unique way here. Eno serves as a sort of biopic and an appreciation of the artist, and it's the first nonfiction feature film to screen in a different, randomly generated version Each showing.
What?
No matter how many showings, no matter where they happen, this is the God's honest truth.
What?
Yes, it's the brainchild of director Gary Hustwit, who is best known to me as the director of a very cool documentary about font called Helvetica. So, I mean, this guy is off the beaten path. But, you know, Eno is an important artist, and this is a little different.
Wow,
so,
this sounds wild.
So, no joke, I met Hustwit last week after a showing presented at Vidiots, which is the filmmaking and acting Duplass Brothers Theater and Video Store complex in the L.A. area known as Eagle Rock. The version of the movie I saw specifically there for one time only featured interviews, music, archival clips of performances and studio sessions, and recently shot scenes of Eno working on projects, puttering in his English garden, reflecting on his life and career, and it was compelling. And apparently it is different each time.
How do they do that?
There is a generator system. So Hustwit sends a cartridge of some sort for each showing, and it just selects what it's going to present as the movie. I have to say...
So all the material's there, but it's just in a different order or slightly different?
Wait. It was very compelling when I saw it, and apparently it's as good each time. It's generally about 90 or so minutes long.
God, this is wild.
It's randomly drawn from about 12 hours of footage that was, according to Hustwit, winnowed down from 500 hours of material. So they sorted through it, and they found the best stuff, about 11, 12 hours. And I say that it's kind of a random thing, but there's a general structure in place that assures a certain coherence, okay?
Okay.
One of my friends saw a version of it that she loved, and she specifically praised the scene with Bono from U2 and Eno in a studio during a U2 recording session. She said, I love this scene. That scene was not in the version I saw.
Wow. I mean, I see the interesting, quirky, and inventive, dynamic nature of the presentation, but at the same time, for just that story you told, I could see it working against you. It's like, gosh, how do I see that version that she saw?
You can't. Well, here's the other thing about it. This plays into Eno's own adventurous nature as an artist. I mean, he would also do a lot of things. He would write things or put things together at random. He had a deck of cards called oblique strategies that would inform his creativity. He would pick one out at random, and it would say, do the opposite of what you were planning to do. And I mean,
wow,
just absolutely nuts.
I just, as an aside, when I hear something like that, I feel like, man, I didn't even show up to creativity. I mean, those people are so creative. They're so magically deep creatively.
It's amazingly true. I don't know. I'll throw this out there. I think we can get Gary Hustwit to come on for 10, 15 minutes on the show.
That'd be great.
At some point.
Be great.
And it's actually very, very timely to have him on, despite the fact that this has been circulating on the theater circuit at various places for the past few months.
But it's accessible where? How can I see it?
This Saturday, for instance, it will be playing at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco at 6:45 p.m.
Okay.
There will be a specific and unique showing of Eno in San Francisco at the Roxy. There are other showings now and again here and there, and they'll come out, but get ready. Here's the trump card about all this. On January 24th, there will be a 24-hour live stream of the movie released at a ticket price of $24 with a series of different versions, surprise guests, performances, and other treats. If you want more info about this, and in order to purchase a ticket, if this strikes you as exciting, go to, this is the email, web address.
Yeah, go ahead.
ouprettythings.com. That's a line from a Bowie song.
I see. Okay.
And
Albert, maybe you can post that.
prettythings.com. prettythings.com, and click on the appropriate link.
Now, so that just gets you tickets to the San Francisco show?
No, that gets you access to the 24-hour live stream. Which
that's
is
cool.
$24. He's made over $1 million doing this.
No, wait a minute. So I can see it online streaming.
You can.
I'm excited about this.
On January 24th, you can watch a few versions back to back, which is
January
cool.
24th.
Yes, on January 24th.
Is it only the one day? I'm sorry.
Yes, but it's going to continue to be released in this bizarre, intermittent platform way. I just was so blown away by it, and I thought, you know what? I kind of want to talk about this on the air.
Tom, who's the keeper of the ding, says, my question about the documentary, though, why?
Why?
Why not? I mean, it seems cool, I think. It seems really cool.
Well, Eno is a significant figure in rock music, and that's why. And why do it this way? Because it feeds into Eno's own creativity.
I remember listening to the Eno albums as I played cards all night in some card club, and I just sort of, it takes you to a different place.
Another Green World is probably the one you're talking about. It's gorgeous. It's just one of the most beautiful. Okay, quickly, Moving on. Two movies I missed that I should have covered when they were out in theaters for the first time. But this is actually coming out on a regular basis in theaters beyond New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago.
Yes, sir.
It's called Sing Sing, and it is a very powerful movie inspired by true events and real people. And it's about a man who was stuck in Sing Sing for a crime that he was innocent of. He's played by the terrific Coleman Domingo, who's getting a lot of Best Actor love. And he is sort of miserable, but what he ends up doing to uplift his spirits is he gets involved in a theater group in the prison. And there are other prisoners there who also get involved. And there is a new guy that gets caught up in it, and he seems like a troublemaker, and you know, he's going to be an issue for the production that they're doing. He's played by Clarence Macklin, and Macklin and other people in this troupe, in this ensemble, are all former prisoners, and the verity they bring to this is astonishingly good. And one of the cool things about the movie, which was directed by Greg Cuidar and written by him and another fellow named Clint Bentley, is that it shows the healing power of art. I don't know how else to put it. And there's a lot of tension as they're trying to put up a show. And simultaneously, Divine G, our central figure, is trying to put together a proposal and a presentation for the parole board to show that he was innocent, and he has tape and what have you. So those are parallel stories. And he's also helping other prisoners while all this is going on to approach their parole hearings and possibly find freedom. It was beautifully done. It was very moving. Tremendous performance by Coleman Domingo, and shockingly good by performances by the various and sundry incarcerated fellows or former prisoners. So is he acquitted
at the end, Michael? Do they come in and they find out that he didn't do it? And
you know, I can't tell you. I can't tell you that, Mark.
Right. Okay.
It's a spoiler.
I have to ask.
Very, very powerful. Sing Sing is opening in theaters over the next couple of weeks. We already saw it in New York and Los Angeles. But,
we're running out of time, Culture Blaster.
Well, of course we are. Let's just close out. It's
not your fault. It's my fault. It's our fault.
Let's close out the film section.
Oh, my God. There's another section after the film section?
No, I'm just saying we'll close out the film section.
Okay.
Sure. With All We Imagine as Light. All We Imagine as Light, which, by the way, opened a couple months ago, is going to be showing at the Roxy this Saturday right after
San
the
Francisco
Eno.
Seems popping. Right after Eno, you can see All We Imagine as Light.
It is a wonderful movie by
all you Bay Area viewers.
Kind of a fledgling writer-director named Payal Kapadia, and it's all about what's going on in contemporary Mumbai. And it tells the story of a couple of roommates who are working at a hospital. One's a nurse, and there's a coworker and various others. And this is all about their relationships and how to deal with things like arranged marriages and survival in a incredibly dense and crowded city. And various relationships, religious differences. You know, you have the Muslims and the Hindus, so there's conflict there. It's a very rich tapestry. And, you know, you get the vibrance of Mumbai.
Yeah.
You get the beauty of surrounding areas that are more pristine and more bucolic. All of it's there, and the actresses are fantastic. The women are the central figures in this thing. Again, it's called All We Imagine is Light, and boy, it's a gorgeous film.
So wait a minute. So it's in San Francisco this weekend. Where can the rest of us see it? Who are not going to
various other cities have it showing in theater.
Check your local listings.
Check your local listings.
All We Imagine is Light. Okay.
Yeah, let's wrap up. I know you want to get going.
I don't. I tease you about wanting to do, but I don't. I'll go for another half hour.
Let me just say, consider this a bridge to the After Party Live. Okay. Because I have something here that I think Kim should see.
Oh.
It's a TV series that I finally caught up to because its second season, very brief, has just been released on PBS, and it's called Funny Woman. And Funny Woman is based on a book by Nick Hornby, the author responsible for High Fidelity, About a Boy, Fever Pitch, all of which produced lovely movies. He wrote the script for An Education, which introduced Carey Mulligan to the movie viewing audience, and it is just a wonderful film. And Funny Woman is based on his book, Funny Girl, which is not about Fanny Brice, does not have anything to do with Barbra Streisand. It is about the 60s, a beauty queen from Blackpool, which is kind of a working class British seaside getaway town. And she decides after a childhood where she and her father watched I Love Lucy and listened to British comedians on the radio, she decides she wants to go to London and pursue a career as a performer. And she has instinctive comedy chops, but she's a knockout. She's a beauty. So it's going to be kind of a difficult road to navigate, because in the 60s, a beautiful woman was just considered in large part just to be worshipped or, arm candy or what have you. So she leaps into this, and she does manage to get a sitcom, become one of the stars of a sitcom that takes off. And so you get the wonderful 60s vibe of mod swing in London. You get inside baseball stuff about the BBC here called TVC, about the opposing commercial channel that had developed, and the performance by the central actor here, Gemma Arterton, as the woman, a woman who comes to be known as Sophie Straw, but was born Barbara Parker. Just wonderful. Gemma Arterton started out in British films in something called St. Trinian's, which was about a girls' school, and she became a Bond girl for one of the Daniel Craig movies.
Jeez, man, you know so much crap. You're unbelievable.
And she's done all kinds
Culture Blaster is unreal.
all kinds of interesting stuff. But Gemma Arterton is luminous and funny and beautiful and riveting in Funny Woman. And just one more quick note. The book was adapted by Morwenna Banks, who appears in this as the wife of the talent agent that gives our heroine her first break. Morwenna Banks was on, I believe, not the 9 o'clock news in the UK, a very well-regarded comedy presenter and writer. And she came over here to the States for one season of SNL as a supporting player. She was on Saturday Night Live. Didn't really pan out, although she had a few moments. I think it was during the Clinton administration. And she went back to the UK, and she's great. The only other familiar face...
This is all a true story that is being dramatized.
No, it's all based on a lovely novel about a time and a place.
Okay, then I've lost you. I've lost the
Yeah, thank you
plot.
for paying... I know it's smoke inhalation, Mark. I know that's what's going on here.
So, Funny Woman... Her Revolution will be televised. Where can I see it?
You can see it on PBS, or you can dig through the various streaming services.
But so the British woman to which you've referred, who was this person, she's a made-up character?
Yeah, she's a kind of composite of various other people, I would assume.
Oh, I see, okay.
But, I mean, there's no specific story. This is not based on a true story. This is based on a true time and a true circumstance and, true societal issues and gender roles and what have you, and how that stuff started exploding in the 60s. Proto-feminism was afoot here, but...
So it's based on a fake story, as Travis Starr said.
It's a story. Have you heard of stories, Mark? Anyway, Kim, I think you're going to love this thing.
I am excited to recap Funny Woman. He loves it. You can find it on PBS, or you can dig around, he says. I don't know. Google it.
If you like Nick Hornby's work, it's charming.
Google it. Exactly. All We Imagine as Light, a woman-centric offering that takes place in Mumbai. He really likes it.
Beautiful film.
It involves some adversarial relationships between religious groups, but the spectacular, beautiful nature of the offering is something that Michael really was taken by. In fact, he used the word bucolic, noted as a ding word.
Yeah, that's one of the seaside village at one point. Yeah, so you get a kind of contrast with
Tom, who's the keeper of the ding.
The hustle bustle of Mumbai.
Lamaku Meka also noting that as well. And luminous is a ding word.
By the way, it won the grand prize at Cannes this year.
Oh, wow.
So
there you have it.
It's not just me. All We Imagine is light.
Yes. He also really likes Sing Sing, which is the Coleman Domingo offering, who plays the lead, a prison inmate wrongly accused, serving time for a crime he never committed.
I feel like I'm late to the party on it, but in fact, it's opening wide on the 17th of January.
Clarence Macklin is in it. He is a former prisoner, and there were many former prisoners who were cast in various roles. Verity was used during the review, and Tom says it is a ding word. Now, Tom he is the keeper of the ding.
Tommy
He
D.
made a critical error, however, here, and I would say it's the first time I ever have noted that Tom, who is the keeper of the ding, has made an error, and it was around this word. He said compelling is a ding word. It was noted elsewhere by Trevor and others. Compelling is not a ding word, and Tom, this is a rare misstep from the ding commissioner's office. We cannot ding compelling, and we shall not. We continue, though. That, again, is Sing Sing. It is in theaters. Eno is maybe the most inventive offering I've ever heard of.
It's amazing.
In terms of an original offering every time you see it. It will never be the same movie. But if you loved rock scene music and you love the solo career of Eno and his producing career, David Bowie.
Talking Heads,
Yeah.
David Bowie.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
You will love this. It's all there in this documentary. Where can you find it? On January 24th. You can find it worldwide through the website. Is that how you get to it?
On the website, you can get ticket access. It's ouprettythings.com. And, of course, it does play in certain theaters here, there, and everywhere. And it will be at the Roxy in San Francisco on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Early
Saturday night,
evening.
the Roxy in San Francisco comes to life with a few of these offerings that Michael has mentioned. 24 hours of Eno live stream January 24th. It is $24. There's a lot of 24 associated with the Eno offering.
Guess when it was released, this movie? 2024.
2024.
Yeah.
Who was in the series from television 24? Anybody on this show?
I think some clown played a TV
Yes.
newscaster
How
once or
dare
twice.
you? I was more than a TV newscaster. I was the moderator of a presidential debate.
Okay, fine.
My God.
I apologize.
Reducing me to a TV newscaster.
You and Kiefer Sutherland, a match made in heaven.
We saw each other at the airport once and we compared notes over the series. And finally, he started with Den of Thieves 2. If you like Den of Thieves 1, you will really like Den of Thieves 2. But if you didn't see Den of Thieves 1, you won't know what the F is going on in Den of Thieves 2.
And if they don't show subtitles, I can't believe I saw a screening and there were no subtitles. Maybe they wanted to give you a sense of the reality of the situation. I don't know what they're saying. I'm in Europe. I'm an American. What?
Gerard Butler and Ice Cube's son, who is O'Shea Jackson Jr. So that means that's what Ice Cube's real name is?
Yes, it is.
O'Shea Jackson?
And Los Angelinos may know O'Shea from his work on various sports stations as a guest, very knowledgeable. I hear he's a big Laker fan, so he and I diverge there. Despite their woes right now, it's Warriors forever for
Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson Jr., enjoy it, but Michael says it's a bit confusing, but at the same time, some incredible chase sequences and some other really impressive sequences.
The heist
in the
is
movie.
awesome.
Yeah. Michael, thank you. I wish we had more time, but we don't. You've taken all our time. And I'm glad you did. Somebody had to. You can find the Culture Blaster across the world of... I'm waiting for Albert to put up the banner.
You can read my thing about the best...
Albert's gone home.
No, a column about the best movies of 2024 at
thevoicesf.org. That's right there on screen. Thevoicesf.org. He comes and he goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
Stay safe, everybody. I'll do my best.
Yeah, Michael, who had to go without power for days, and he's made it through, so we appreciate him being here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, we went a little long, as we do typically on Fridays, but particularly today because we had a lot to get to. Karen D says, my mom met Dylan. In fact, he asked her out on a date. She was married to my dad at the time, but Dylan didn't care. LOL, cool family story to share at holiday dinners. I love that story. Thank you, Karen. Remind me to tell you the Warren Beatty story for next week, or maybe the week after. Chip Carter said that Jimmy Carter knew the lyrics of every Dylan song. This is according to Tammy, who left this this comment, once they weren't talking and left notes to each other using Dylan lyrics. Isn't that wild? Gosh, that's wild. Great knowledge. Thank you, Tammy. And finally, if George Soros bought a social media platform and Biden gave him a job in his administration, the right would go bonkers. Bonkers, says James Dorn. Exactly. Yet Elon Musk buys X, then Twitter, turns it into a propaganda machine for the right, now going to not only serve in the administration, but have an oversized seat at the table of the new administration, and no one says D about it. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So, I am loath to wrap things up, Kim. I'm loath to wrap things up, but
The Mark Thompson Show.
I know there is another show waiting.
Yes, there is.
The After Party Live, there'll be a link to it in the chat. You can click right through and go there if you'd like to kind of just have a soft landing to a rough week. Kim, thank you for stepping up this week. You really did. I'll reiterate, I will never forget you for that. And Albert, I wish I had something nice to say about you, but I can't think of anything. So I am kidding, of course. Albert is he's like family to me.
What?
Which is why I treat him so poorly. I treat my family quite poorly, actually. But
What?
Okay. I am digressing again. Thank you, everybody. You've helped lift my spirits on this very difficult week, and it's not over. It's not over. So, After Party Live is next. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Michael. Both Michaels.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Till next week. Bye-bye.